respect.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series comes to you from the sports hometown in Charlotte, North Carolina. It's 300 miles for the NASCAR Nationwide Series from the beast of the Southeast, the fast but fickle Lowe's Motor Speedway. There were some brief rain showers this morning, but now a beautiful upper 70s afternoon's given way to a perfect evening, and we are just about ready for the engines to fire to get this race underway. So to call the action, let's head upstairs and say hello to Dr. Jerry Punch. Doc?
Thank you very much, Alan. And to fully comprehend the importance of this whole Memorial Day weekend here in stock car country, take a look. 14 of NASCAR's brightest stars are scheduled to pull double duty here over the next 24 hours, folks. That means they will compete for 900 miles, and it's a who's who in stock car racing. Reigning Cup champion Jimmy Johnson, 5 former Nationwide champs. Edwards, Harvick, yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is there. How about a 3-time IndyCar Series champion and 2006 Indy 500 winner Sam Hornish Jr. Hello, everyone. Along with Rusty Wallace and Andy Petrie, I'm Jerry Punch, and thanks for joining us as we kick off a huge Memorial Day weekend for motorsports here at Lowe's Motor Speedway tonight. And guys, as if 900 miles weren't physically challenging enough, why would these double-duty drivers risk exposing themselves to injury on such an important weekend?
Well, you don't have to look any farther than the rear quarter panels on Jimmy Johnson's car, number 5, to figure that out. He's got Lowe's on there. He's a Lowe's driver, and this is Lowe's Motor Speedway, so we know why this guy is out there racing tonight.
So we know why Jimmy's here, but how about the other drivers? Remember what happened a couple of years ago when Tony Stewart ran both Saturday and Sunday? He slammed the wall hard in the Nationwide race, and again in his Cup car on Sunday, injuring a shoulder which impacted his season. Rusty, how risky is it for people like Tony Stewart and others who run the double duty a lot of times?
Well, Jerry, there's no doubt that there is a lot of risk and reward involved in running this particular race or any Nationwide race. But you know what? This is Charlotte, and this is the guy's hometown. And when you think all year long, where am I going to run a Nationwide race at if I'm asked to do it? It's right here in Charlotte. This is a granddaddy of them all, but it is a little bit dangerous. You're fast here. These cats got to be careful because they can get hurt here.
Toyota has been the talk of the series this year, guys. 8 wins in 12 races. Joe Gibbs Racing has won 6 in a row, including 4 in a row in the 20 car. Guys, what makes this car and this team so good?
I really think it's the drivers. I mean, the drivers are really good. You look at Tony Stewart, Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, guys like that. When you got that lineup, hey, you got some horsepower.
And how about this guy on top of the pit box, Dave Rogers? He's the guy. That's where the buck stops on this team, and he deserves a lot of credit.
Andy Petrie he was able to use 4 in a row with Harry Gant back in '91 to be able to get a good job and become a Cup Series champion crew chief. Well, how about the Joe Gibbs Racing team? They are atop all 7 major categories in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, including the all-important categories of wins. They have 8. How about laps led? Oh, my. 1,117 laps led. Well, there's a Toyota on the pole tonight, but not a Joe Gibbs car, as we go trackside to hear the command.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome tonight's Grand Marshal, Carquest Excellence Award winner Mike Buckridge, as he delivers the most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Engines have fired, and 43 of NASCAR's finest are cinched up and ready to go. And how truly appropriate on a Memorial Day weekend that we would have the Navy car as our in-race reporter. When we come back, we're going to ask our question and your question of Dale Earnhardt Jr., our in-race reporter at Charlotte tonight. Field beginning to roll off of pit road. We'll take a look at our starting grid. The pole sitter, the second pole of the year, third of his career, is Brian Vickers in a Toyota. Beside him, best start of the year for 22-year-old David Reagan. Now, while you watch to see where your favorite driver is starting, let's visit with our in-race reporter. Starting back in 10th spot, driver of the Dale Jr. Division, Navy Chevrolet, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Hey, Dale, Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us?
Yep.
Hey, Dale, this race is going to start during the day and end at night. Are you concerned about how this car is going to handle early in the run?
Well, the car should drive closer you know, as far as the start and the beginning, how the car's going to change, it should do a little bit better than the Cup car will. We're just hoping we're going to just gain speed and the car won't really change that much. I think we'll be a little bit snug at the start, and as the track goes off, we'll gain a little bit of grip. Hopefully, the car won't get too loose on the long run.
All right, Dale, we got an ESPN.com mailbag question. That's from Dustin in Springfield, Massachusetts. His question is, what does it mean to have the Navy as your sponsor on Memorial Day weekend?
Yeah, it's great working with the Navy in the Busch series. They're a great supporter of our program with Brad, and also today with us. We've got the Dell Junior Division car here, and pretty happy. Looking forward to it. It's a great race car, so they picked the right race car to put their name on. We're going to try to put it in Victor Lane.
All right, man. Thanks for talking to us. Have a good race tonight.
Calling the shots for Dale Jr. tonight will be former championship crew chief Lance McGrew. Let's visit with Lance.
Hey, Lance McGrew, Andy Petrie, have you got us?
10-4, Andy.
Hey, Lance, how are you going to get Junior in position to win this thing when it comes down to it?
I'm hoping it comes down to that the stop before the last pit stop. We're trying to set it up. We'll put tires and fuel in that stop, so we got a few options on the very last time we may just put 2 tires on the right-hand side, or we may just get gas that last stop, try to get some track position. Hopefully we won't need it. Hopefully we'll be out front all night.
Yeah, that sounds good, Lance. How close is your setup to your teammates' cars?
It's a little bit different. We're trying a few things that kind of going back into the mixed bag back from a few years ago when we ran the Busch Series, now the Nationwide Series quite a bit. And we kind of step back a couple years to the way I like to do things, and we're going to give it a try.
10-4, Lance. I like that old school thinking. Y'all have a good race.
Thank you.
Lance looks like he's ready to win one tonight. How about the other onboard cameras? We'll be riding along with Mike Bliss, starts 8th in the Miccosukee Resorts Chevy. Mike Wallace, 23rd, the Geico Toyota. Craig Biffle, a 2-time winner here, starts 3rd, the City Financial Ford. Kenny Wallace, 40th, the United States Border Patrol Chevrolet. Jeff Burton, who won this race last fall, 11th in the Holiday Inn Chevrolet. Kyle Busch starts 6th. How good has he been this year in the Nationwide Dollar General Toyota? And reigning series champion Carl Edwards starts 7th in the Scott's Water Smart Formula 4. Check in on some final stories from pit road, starting out with Mike Massaro.
Well, Doc, there's no question that the Joe Gibbs Racing organization has become a juggernaut. They've won the last 6 races, including 4 in a row by the 20 team. With that said, the question is, who's going to knock them off? Could it be a smaller Toyota-backed team? Well, Braun Racing certainly could make a bid tonight. Brian Vickers is already on the pole and has been fast throughout the course of the weekend. His teammate, Jason Leffler, said this is the most confident he's been all season long, and gives a lot of credit to TRD for unveiling a new engine package tonight, one that not only has yielded more horsepower, but also has become more efficient. And let's not forget about Braun's home run hitter, that of course being Kyle Busch. He leads the series with 3 victories, but remember, those 3 wins all came in Joe Gibbs Racing cars. Ironically, the very team they're trying to knock off tonight, Shannon.
Well, Mike, while Joe Gibbs Racing certainly leads in the win department, it's a number 2 Richard Childress racing car driven by Clint Boyer that currently stands ahead of the driver point standings. Now, although Clint Boyer has not been to victory lane here at Charlotte, his teammate Jeff Burton has 3 times, in fact, including last October. Now, I spoke with his crew chief, Pat Smith, earlier today. He told me coming into this race, although they are chasing the 20 team, they have an unfair advantage. And that unfair advantage is Jeff Burton. He told me, quote, Burton is just so good here. Dave Burns?
So, Shannon, what are the Roush Fenway cars doing to try to close that gap on Joe Gibbs Racing? Well, I talked to Eddie Pardue, Greg Biffle's crew chief, today, and he said, you know, we're looking at everything, engines, bodies, chassis, suspensions, trying to get better, and we're also consulting with our Cup teams. Now, the technology is different, but the ideas might be really good, so we're working with them to try to get what we can to catch up with these guys. We think we're making gains, but those Gibbs cars are still very fast. Now tonight, in order to stay fast all night long, you're going to have to make some adjustments on your race car. So let's go to the Dish Tech Center in our Chevy Cutaway car with Tim Brewer.
This racetrack in Charlotte is the most heat-sensitive racetrack we go to. What we're going to do, we're going to constantly make air pressure adjustments tonight. We're going to make spring rubber adjustments. What we're anticipating is one stop beyond what we're actually doing, anticipating the change of the characteristics of the racetrack. And as long as we stay one jump ahead of those other guys, we're going to get to the checkered flag first here in Charlotte.
It is all about adjustability here when the race starts in the daylight and finishes after dark. Glad to have you with us, and thanks, by the way, to all you men and women in the armed services who allow us to sleep under a cloak of freedom and have nights like tonight where we get to come enjoy NASCAR stock car racing. Great crowd on hand. Glad to have you with us here. 300 miles of NASCAR nationwide action about to get underway here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Green flag waves, and we'll see if the pole sitter, Brian Vickers, can indeed lead that first lap, but he wanted to here all week long. Side by side down the back straightaway, one of the drivers everyone said keep an eye on was Dave Reagan. David Reagan, the reigning Rookie of the Year in that 6 car outside of row 1.
What, did it look like he wanted to lead that first lap or what?
Well, I tell you what, Reagan has been strong all week long here at Charlotte, guys. I mean, whether it's in a COT car or the nationwide car, this kid's been really impressive all week.
The 9 car, Casey Kane, remember what he did in the All-Star race a week ago as you watch him mixing it up back in the pack. How about the 12 car, Sam Hornish? There comes David Strimming. And the 60 car of Carl Edwards falling back here in the early laps.
He could have his car real loose here waiting for this track to kind of come to him. But boy, he just had to get out of the throttle and put himself in a bad spot.
Guys, this track was real slick this afternoon. A couple cars crashed. And right now, just like you said, Jerry, starting off, they're going to start in the day and they're going to end this thing at night. So I expect these cars really not to be handling too good right now.
Carl Edwards, he crashed his car at Darlington on the first or second lap, so he's just trying to get this thing going tonight.
Oh, well, I tell you, it was just one lap, like you said last week at Darlington, or 2 weeks ago, Andy, and he wiped out. He doesn't want to do that now, but this car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 83 car, this guy was good in practice throughout the day, throughout the last couple of days ago. He's in good shape.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has never won a points-paying event at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Hard to believe, I know it. His dad won here 8 times. There's Dale Jr. The only race he ever won here was the All-Star race back in 2000, but never a major NASCAR Nationwide or Cup Series event.
He sure did sound confident when we talked to him before the race. They had a car that was very capable of winning this race.
Yeah, we talked to him before.
Whoa.
Oh, a spin off of turn 2, and they're spinning down the back straight with a 0 car. Tore up bad. Danny Eflin.
Danny Eflin driving for Johnny Davis Motorsports will bring out the first yellow flag. And you guys predicted it down in our countdown show. You said we're going to have a lot of yellow flags here tonight. We could see a lot of pushing and shoving and some incidents early on.
Yeah, Danny qualified pretty good there. He qualified 26th. I'm sure he was had his high hopes up for this race and maybe just got a little over anxious. This turn 2's been tricky all week. You see how nobody around him here just snapped around.
You know, in practice, Andy, there were just a lot of cars were loose, and they got to get through this transition to the racetrack. This is the problem area. This is the time that they got to be careful.
On board, Kenny Wallace's Border Patrol Chevy.
Watch in front of you, stay high. One behind you. Keep coming.
And you just saw the 0 car go spinning around, and fortunately, Danny able to get the window net down and take the helmet off and talk to safety crews here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Under caution early on what should be a very eventful kickoff to Memorial Day weekend motorsports. We'll have more when we come back in just a moment. Back at Lowe's Motor Speedway under yellow for the first time tonight. Aerial coverage provided by our good friends at Goodyear for track-tested technology. Get there on Goodyear Innovation. Well, throughout the weekend here, the Sprint Cup drivers and NASCAR Nationwide Series drivers will be carrying special Salute the Troops logos on the side of their cars to help kick off a nationwide effort to raise funds for military families worldwide. There you see the 25 car, Bobby Hamilton Jr., one of those cars here in the nationwide race tonight. As well, Kelly Byers in the 47 car. He's all carrying special troops, you see the logo there for the United States Air Force, the Marines, by the way, on Bobby Hamilton Jr.'s car. Cale Gale representing the VFW. His grandfather, a World War II veteran. Cale Gale was a T-ball player when he was 9 years old, and he had the VFW as a sponsor on his uniform. More on that a little later on. And, of course, how about Dale Earnhardt Jr., the Navy? So many of the brass here from the Navy and so many troops here and watching around the world saluting them and their efforts and the sacrifices they make to be able to keep our country free. And of course, his car, his co-owned car, Brad Keslowski, who carries the Navy logo each and every weekend. A special salute to Troops Weekend here on Memorial Day weekend. Last year, folks, this program raised over $500,000 for the USO and military families around the world. And there are some of the folks from the Navy visiting here just behind the Dale Earnhardt Jr. pits, hoping to see a first-time visit to Victory Lane. Yes, there you are in the stands. A lot of folks here visiting from watching on a special Memorial Day weekend. Now, what happened with the 60 car? Carl Edwards was backing up a little bit. Dave, what's going on down there?
Yeah, Doc, he did go backwards at the start of this race. Listen to his radio comments, and then we'll add from there.
Put about, I'll put 2 rounds of front brake. Before we get back up there, this car is good. It's just, I mean, the grip-wise, it's got a lot of grip, just so loose in. 10-4, probably around that track bar down a couple rounds. Yeah, like 5. 10-4.
That's lots of rounds of adjustments. You heard Tim Brewer talk about it before things got started tonight, and already for Carl Edwards, they'll have to make some adjustments on this next stop, whenever they get to it, guys.
Yeah, Dave, he was talking about putting 5 rounds of the track bar down, so he needs a little bit of an adjustment there. That's pretty drastic.
Well, when you go that far, you know that baby's loose, and you know it's going to be loose early in this run because of the way the track is, but it's going to tighten up.
5 rounds of adjustment. He's got to really hang on now for a few laps and not get into trouble as we get set to go green once again here. As the field comes down, completing 7 laps of 200. It's a 300-mile race. Up front, David Reagan gets a challenge from Casey Kane in the 9 car in turn 1.
Jerry, with this single file restart they just had right now, these guys in the back of the pack, they have got to flat get it on because this clean air that the 9 car's got of Casey Kane, I mean, these guys can get gone. And, man, if that happens, those guys can get lapped early.
Yeah, we saw Casey Kane in the All-Star race get that clean air. Didn't even take tires on, and that made up for any of the tire advantage that some of the other guys had.
Oh, man, you're exactly right. I'll tell you what, if you don't get it on right now and get that track position, you're in trouble later on. And this is a point in the race, Andy, where the track is slick and there's haves and have-nots out there.
Casey Kane. You see Casey Kane, though, he's just got so much confidence from last week, and it's just carried right over into this race.
Speaking of confidence, we talk about Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to go underneath the 16 car. Now, Greg Biffle loves this racetrack. That's Biffle in the 16, by the way. They swap drivers throughout the year. Biffle, a 2-time winner here at Lowe's Motor Speedway in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Looking back at the battle between Bliss and Biffle, the 1 in the 16. That is for 7th spot.
You know, I talked to Dale Earnhardt Jr. earlier. He said this is a car that Brad Keselowski actually wrecked at Darlington. He was able to fix it and get it back out, so he knows it's a good car. But just think of Mike Bliss. We're just watching from inside his car. Bliss is 5th in the points. He's been strong all year, too.
Bliss trying to hold off the 20 car right behind him, Andy. And you know, this 20 car, we keep talking about how good that car has been. Denny Hamlin aboard that car. Bliss, though, has been getting better and better as the weeks progressed here, hoping for that first top 5 as we check in with Shannon.
Certainly Mike Bliss, he's had a great season so far, holding steady in that 5th place point standings. But right now he's not happy with the car, guys. He says he feels like he's on top of the racetrack, really slipping and sliding around.
What he really means by, you see him right here, definitely up on top of the racetrack. That means he just doesn't have a good solid feel for the car. And you can see right there, that was for good reason. He didn't
man,
feel
you got that right, Andy. As a driver, I mean, on top of the racetrack, that means you're on ice skates, buddy. You're up there slipping and sliding. You're not down in with a lot of downforce. That car's sticking good. And you saw what happened to Bliss. He almost lost it right there. And until the next pit stop happens, or as this air pressure comes up, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, he just needs to chill out right here while this racetrack goes through a transition period. You can see a little bit of sun still on the track, still got a little bit of heat in it, but it's going to cool down dramatically here in the next 30 to 45 minutes.
Mike Bliss, 5th in point standings, and the guy that's battling him for position right now is the points leader here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Clint Bowyer in the 2 car, coming in with a 112-point lead over Kyle Busch and Carl Edwards. How about this battle back for 13th through 15th here back in the pack?
See Jimmy Johnson coming up here in this 5 car. He's not had a lot of success in this series, and I know that he would really like to have a good finish, if not a win here tonight with this Lowe's on the side of the car.
Hey, you know, I talked to Jimmy Johnson earlier, I guess it was Thursday when we were out here practicing, Andy, and he said, you know what, these cars are totally different than a COT car. They have no horsepower. They're pretty easy to drive, but man, they're nothing like I'm accustomed to driving. So I'm not going to expect a lot out of Jimmy because he hasn't been in this car all year long. This is new to him.
It boggles my mind that Jimmy Johnson has run 87 of these races here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series and has only one victory. As good as he is in the Cup car with back-to-back Cup titles, why in the world does he struggle in this series?
That is a mystery, Doc. Like you say, this car just doesn't play to his strengths. And when I say this car, I mean these Nationwide Series cars with low horsepower. They seem to have they do have a lot more downforce in the car of tomorrow. But Jimmy's a great race car driver, and he's going to figure this thing out. And he's driving a car that won at Las Vegas. His 5-car won with Mark Martin, so he's got a little confidence in this team too.
Well, you got that right, but he could probably tell you though that hey, the reason I'm running here because of my sponsor. They sponsored this joint. Dave.
Hey guys, looking at the 20 car of Denny Hamlin right now. We talked earlier about Carl Edwards' car being loose. Denny Hamlin having a little bit of the opposite problem now as he takes the position from Greg Biffle. Just a tick tight off the corner. Doesn't want to steer real well as he exits the corner. Keeping the car low and drifting up can help him handle this thing, but he's moving forward.
You'll hear him say that a lot. The daylight will slide, but when it gets dark, we're going to ride. Because what happened last year when they came here, and Rusty, when it gets dark here, the grip on the track comes up, and some of these guys that are slipping and sliding now will be able to just drive their way toward the front.
Oh, man, these cars get handling totally different late at night. I mean, I remember running this race going, what is wrong with this thing? Who messed with this car? Last time I got out of it, it's slipping and sliding all over. But just like you said, Jerry, when this track cools down, these cars take off. And then, Andy, they start saying, I'm tight. There is no more loose. You're tight all of a sudden. Then I'm screaming at you.
And then that's when we start screaming and we start screwing screw jacks and air pressure, and we try to get you happy again.
Up front, it is Dodge, Ford, and a couple of Toyotas. How about chasing a Dodge of Casey Kane? He won the All-Star race last week, trying to go for 2 in a row by winning the NASCAR Nationwide Series event here tonight. Coming up next week, the NASCAR Nationwide Series moves to the Monster Mile. The concrete Dover International Speedway hosts the 14th NASCAR Nationwide Series race of the season. There have been 6 different winners in the last 6 Dover Nationwide Series events. Carl Edwards won the spring race last year, while Denny Hamlin took the fall event. An incredible 13 drivers have won their first career Nationwide Series event at Dover. And by the way, Joey Logano makes his series debut in guess which car? That 20 car that's been almost unbeatable. Could we see another first-time winner? All the action next week at Dover at 2:30 Eastern Time. Back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, a new leader now. If you just joined our coverage, the 6 car, David Reagan, led the first 8 laps. The 9 car led the next 11, and here's what happened just a moment ago.
Here, David Reagan, he didn't like the way that Casey Kane passed him on that restart. He just kind of methodically moved his way back up there and gets inside Casey Kane and gets him clear.
Well, I tell you what, he was hooked up right in the bottom of that racetrack, really fast in the bottom.
Caution now being shown Wade for the second time tonight. First one coming out lap 4. Denny Eflin.
Looks like Morgan Shepherd's got a left rear tire down.
Morgan, one of those 4 cars that had to start in the rear of the field after adjustments that were made after qualifying. So he was coming from the back of the pack after a good qualifying run, now having a little debris coming off that tire, bringing out the caution here for the second time.
We can see our leaders, when they worked by Morgan, he was having some problems there up high.
Boy, take a look at this replay, guys. They're getting down into turn 3 right now. They're running up in Morgan Shepherd. And they really got boggled up behind and went to the bottom. That could have been a big one there, guys.
Yeah, Morgan did a heck of a job keeping that car out of the wall. Our 66-year-old driver, it's a former 2-time winner here, so obviously did a heck of a job now as they will head to pit road here momentarily.
I'd say Morgan saved a few race cars in his day.
He saved a lot of them. He could have pulled down across the racetrack and caused a big wreck, but he's been there before. Hey, keep on top of the track, save the car. That was a smart thing to do.
Leaders getting ready to come on pit road. Let's go down to our Castrol GTX triple pit, starting out with Mike Massaro.
And right now, Doc, David Reagan very happy with the race car. Mike Kelly just asked him how his balance was. He said it's pretty good, just maybe a little bit free, but Reagan instructed him not to touch it. Look for a 4-tire change, and they'll fill up with Sunoco race fuel. Reagan now hits his marks as the team goes to work on the right side. Dave?
Casey Kane running in second position. He is in the middle of your screen right there. They are going to pull a spring rubber out of the left rear. That's going to loosen up this race car for Casey. As for Dale Jr., car just about right now. Small air pressure adjustment for Jr. 4 tires as well. They'll try to win this race off of pit road. There goes Reagan. Here comes the rest of the field. Nearly contact on pit road.
Wow, the race off of pit road, and Jason Leffler gains 5 spots. How about the former Indy 500 winner Sam Hornish, who was already running close to the top 10, now in 2nd position. And Jimmy Johnson up 12 positions. Great effort on pit road. How tough is it? How about the jack man, Andy Turner? Watch him working on the 32 car of Kyle Busch. Andy pumping that jack to get that Dollar General Toyota on and off pit road in a hurry.
One lap away from restarting the Carquest Auto Parts 300. Our coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series tonight from Lowe's Motor Speedway outside of Charlotte. And the whole running order's jumbled up from when that caution came out a minute ago. First couple of pit stops to examine that shuffled the 2 guys who were leading before a little bit farther back in traffic.
Yeah, you know, these things are going to happen, but if you look at the right rear here, you're going to see a little bit of a bobble back here, and it's going to create a little bit of extra time, and that is the things that you cannot have happen throughout a race, Alan. It's just not going to help you at the end of the night.
When the tire changers don't go around the car at the same time, that means somebody's having an issue. See, the rear is still a little bit slow, and then all the traffic coming out. Now watch Kasey Kahne on his pit stop. Watch the front of the car and the tire carrier just trying to get to the car.
He's just trying to get around the car. He gets turned around. He's bobbling. He's pirouetting around. Finally gets there. Those times, those little incremental seconds cost you inches on the racetrack, and at the end of the day, it can cost you position.
And then on the left side, the rear tire changer having some trouble going under the car, maybe fishing out a spring rubber. Can't tell for sure by this angle on the replay, but I think that's what he did. And that puts David Reagan out in 6th and Kasey Kahne way back in 14th. And Doc, a lot of strategy has shuffled the running order up front.
Indeed it has, Alan. As we get set for the restart here, Jason Leffler will lead him down. How about Sam Hornish? Some tire strategy here. We will remember what they did on this first stop and bring it back to you as the race progresses. By the way, Derek Cope led a lap during the caution flag. The 1990 Daytona 500 winner staying on the racetrack to get those extra bonus points. Jimmy Johnson on the bottom of the racetrack. How good has he been here in the Cup car? His sponsor and the namesake for the racetrack, trying to get to the front here and lead tonight in the NASCAR Nationwide Series event.
I think this is a great move by the 5 team and the 38 to just get a couple tires here, get out there. Just getting this track position is going to be huge for these guys.
Well, guys, there's only 30 laps in these tires. If you're going to put 2 on and see if it works or not, that was the right time to do it. That's not too many tire laps in our tires. And this tire, pretty hard, holding up pretty good.
David Stremme in the 64 car. The Rusty Wallace Incorporated team has been one of the hot teams the last couple of weeks. Back-to-back 5th and 6th place finishes. Stremme now 6 out of 7 races in the top 10 here, and this team really coming on, trying to pedal that thing to the front. But look at David Reagan is just inhaling that front pack.
Well, David Reagan's got 4 tires on. David Stremme's got 2 tires. That was a decision the team wanted to do, but I'll tell you what, they need to find if it's going to work, and I really applaud him for making that call.
David Reagan's definitely had the fastest car from the start of the race, even with, you know, the 4 tire. We're not counting having 4 tires against these guys with 2. And something looks like it's wrong with Kasey Kahne's car right here. This 9 car is definitely slow.
Slowing back in the pack. Kahne now trying to get to the bottom of the racetrack, obviously, or possibly a tire situation for the 9 car.
Sure, it looks like that car was wobbling around quite a bit. I'm trying to see if it's the left rear tire hitting pit road. I can't tell. Locking it up, trying to get that speed limit down so it doesn't get a penalty there.
Got to be careful with that right front tire not to put a flat spot on it if you're not going to change it.
Tell you what, you talk about risk versus reward. I mean, this is something Kahne's thinking about. The big show is tomorrow for the Cup stuff. He doesn't want to get hurt here.
99 also, we're being told, has an issue. Let's show you that there's a little bit of pushing and rubbing out there, and it doesn't take much contact. Let's watch the 99 car. Here comes Clint Bowyer.
Yeah, he's sitting right there. You see David Bruderman's trying to get down to the bottom of the track because he thinks he has a problem and did not see that other car there.
And how about Jimmy Johnson now taking over as the leader here, becomes the 4th different leader. There have been 5 lead changes, folks. We're only 35 laps in. We told you this was going to be a great one here tonight at Lowe's Motor Speedway, and indeed that is the case. Jimmy Johnson leads, and now the 9 car of Kasey Kahne is trying to get his issues resolved. Dave.
And he thought flat left front tire. Right now, the guys are looking over every tire. They haven't told Kasey yet what they found. This is the process where the crew then goes around, gets all the air pressures, see if one of the tires is down, and they can confirm with their driver what happened. Right now, it looks like all 4 tires are up, so he was feeling something that felt unsafe, and so he came down pit road. They changed 4.
Hey, guys, look at this 12 car right here, working the top side of the racetrack. Look at him.
Whoa, in the side of Jimmy.
Great job for Jimmy Johnson to save that car. Sam Hornish comes out of that thing with the lead.
I just started to say, Jimmy Johnson's thinking, man, I'm loving Charlotte and the Nationwide cars right now. Haven't really run too good, but now I'm leading. Now I've just got knocked back to the back. Probably doesn't like it again.
And how about Sam Hornish? We heard talk about Sam Hornish is accustomed to leading on Memorial Day weekend, but normally it's in the Indianapolis 500. He won that race in 2006. Decided he wanted to come stock car racing, and tonight Sam Hornish leads here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Here's David Reagan, the Ford on the inside of the Toyota of Jason Leffler, battling for second position.
And here comes Dale Earnhardt Jr. We got so much action, we can't hardly keep up.
Oh, man. You got to believe the guys up in Indianapolis are watching this, watching Hornish right now, saying, man, I want to do that. I want to get down there. I tell you, Hornish has really took to this thing really good. He's working with his team. His cars are handling good. I believe this cat's here to stay.
They're just glad he's not in Indianapolis. They got a great field of cars for the 92nd running of the Indianapolis 500. So they're probably glad, well, we don't have to deal with Sam Hornish this year. Let him get out and be in the stock cars and get him out of here.
Andy, how do you like to have a driver that says, hey, I can win Indy and I can win Charlotte? That'd be a good one to have, wouldn't it?
He is a great race car driver. He's definitely proving it right here.
You know what? We're going to pose a trivia question later on. We'll let the folks think about it. When was the last time, what's the best finish an Indianapolis 500 driver, winner, has ever had at this racetrack at Lowe's Motor Speedway? We'll tell you the answer here. Just think about it, folks. Think about the best finish an Indy 500 winner has had at this racetrack. We'll tell you a little later on. Let's check in with more on David Reagan with Mike.
Well, Doc, as you canvassed the garage this weekend, we kept hearing one thing about the tires. A lot of teams thinking they were very inconsistent, and that may be something that's biting the 6 team right now. After that pit stop, David Reagan came over the radio and said he thinks he feels a vibration. Nothing serious, but he doesn't think the air pressures are building up as quick as the other set of tires, and it doesn't feel right. As you can see, the 6 car has been dropping back.
It's hard to say what he's feeling, that vibration in the car. Some of these sets of tires are a little different from set to set, and this one's just not matched up exactly for his car right now, but it's a long race.
Sam Hornish is leading the field here on a Memorial Day weekend in NASCAR action, NASCAR Nationwide Series. But how about a great Memorial Day weekend memory for Sam Hornish? Turn back the clock to 2006, and how about he was the pole sitter for the Indianapolis 500, but on the final lap he would move around Marco Andretti. Watch this move by Hornish to win by 63 1/1000ths of a second, second closest finish in Indy 500 history. They call it the greatest spectacle in racing, and could we see history made in the 92nd running of the Indianapolis 500? Live coverage begin at noon Eastern time on ABC. And what about two-time winner Elio Castroneves? Could he taste the milk in victory lane? Will Danica Patrick continue her history-making season? Phenomenal effort here in Indianapolis, and what a great field. Of course, the famous names are there: Foyt, Andretti, and 19-year-old Graham Rahal. Should be a great show on Sunday afternoon. Sam Hornish in the 12 car and the 6 car. These guys are running for second because the 38 car, there is Jason Leffler. He is now the leader as they continue to mix it up here at Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Hey, Jason has just got his car working really good on the bottom of the racetrack, and Hornish is just stuck in the top side of that racetrack, gets blocked behind a lap car right there. And man, I just can't believe I'm sitting there watching Hornish this soon in his career run this good at a track this fast. 2006 Indy winner in NASCAR. It's awesome.
A week ago, he finished second in the showdown and finished 7th in the All-Star race. Only the first driver to finish the top 10 as a rookie in the All-Star race since Casey Kane back in 2004. What does that do for a driver?
Well, for a driver, it just gives you so much confidence. And when you watch him run so good in that All-Star race the other day, running 1 foot off that wall the entire race, not touching, just wide open, going to the front, that race right there last week built a lot of confidence in Hornish. It really did.
Sam Hornish second in the Rookie of the Year points in the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Running a limited NASCAR Nationwide Series schedule, and the whole premise there was to be able to get him more laps and more track time, which is exactly what Roger Penske is doing, and it's paying off for Sam Hornish here tonight. Let's just check in with Shannon.
Well, Doc, it certainly has been a great week for Sam Hornish Jr. Now, that car right now is tightening up on him just a little bit, specifically through and off turn 4. Now, on that last pit stop, they did drop the track bar because it was a little bit loose. Looks like they may have tightened it up just a little bit. Now with Mike on the guy that Sweatin' Hortis Jr. is chasing down.
You know, Shannon, when Jason Leffler left the test here a week ago, he was pretty bummed out. He had crashed a car after cutting a tire down. He felt like that was the best car they had for this particular race, but his spirits were buoyed after he hit the track on Thursday for practice. Felt like this was the best car he's had going into a race all season long. We can see that right now, paying dividends. Right now, what he's saying, he's a little bit tight in traffic, but when he's in clean air, when he is right now, he's extremely good.
Jason Leffler has top 10 finishes at both the sister tracks to Lowe's Motor Speedway at Atlanta and at Texas. Hoping to get a top 5 or a win here. There is the battle, or it wasn't much of a battle for position. Dale Earnhardt Jr. just goes by and says, see ya.
I think David Reagan saw Jr. coming in his mirror and decided it's too early in the race to try to put up much of a fight at this point.
Andy, you've been here many times. You've watched a lot of races here. About how deep in this race do you get before this track really starts changing big time?
Well, starting that transition phase right now, when as soon as the sun goes down and you see no sun or shadows on the racetrack, that's when it really starts to cool down, and it'll go through a pretty rapid change during, you know, that transition, and then it'll actually even go through another one right toward the end of the race. So I think the biggest adjustment for the racetrack is going to be right about now.
In this race a year ago, the drivers who led while the sun was shining were a non-factor once it got dark. You remember Casey Kane started way back in 32nd, and once it got dark, he started to march his way to the front and led the final 17 laps here. So it was a totally different group of guys at the front of the field after dark.
I love that dynamic of how the track does change, and you started racing the daylight and you ended at night. I don't know who came up with that idea, but it was a good one.
Yeah, I think I can give you a name. I think his name was Wheeler or somebody like that. We'll talk a little bit about Humpy Wheeler in just a moment here. A quarter of a way through. Now, what about a couple of drivers we were talking about before the show? How good has Kyle Busch been? A 3-time winner. There is Kyle Busch, not driving for Joe Gibbs tonight, driving for Todd Braun in that 32 car. There is his progression. Mike?
And Doc, this is the 5th race that Kyle Busch has been behind the wheel of a Braun car, and I spoke with his crew chief Todd Lowe earlier this week, and he said of the 5 races, this is the best car they've been able to give Kyle. Now, they had been a little bit confused over the first 4 races, though, because they felt like when it came to coil bind setup, that Kyle Busch was more toward the right front rather than the left front, which they had some success with. So they had to make some adjustments with the setup to finally get it right and give Kyle the feel he was looking for. It obviously took a long time before they got it, but they feel like they've nailed it here tonight. Dave?
Mike, on the right of your screen, you see Jimmy Johnson racing David Reagan for that 4th spot. He takes it. Back further in the pack is Brian Vickers, who was a pole sitter and running up front early on. We showed you that pit stop with the 9 car where the tire carrier was a little bit slow getting around to the front of Casey Kane's car. Well, that's because Brian Vickers had contact with him on pit road, and they stayed a long time on pit road to fix that 10 car. He restarted back in the 20s. He's worked his way all the way up to 12th, but it's been a long road back toward the front of the field for our pole sitter.
Brian Vickers always good at this racetrack. His best Cup finish came here at last May when he led quite a few laps, ended up getting a top 5 finish in the Cup event, the Coke 600. Talk about big movers. How about the 66 car? That is Stephen Wallace, who wrecked during qualifying, had to start dead last. He has already gained, folks, get this, 24 positions for the 20-year-old driver. He has moved all the way up to 18th spot. It's the same car, we're being told, that he finished 5th with at Darlington a race ago. Remember what happened at Darlington, though? He had a car wreck in practice, and guess what? Started back in the pack and drove all the way up to the top 5.
So this is a backup car these guys have used for the last 2 races. Rusty, when are you going to make this a primary car? This thing runs.
I told him, I said, this is a great car. This thing flies every time I run it. Take it back, wash it off, bring it back. We don't need to keep bringing new cars every race. So, hey, I seen you with Earnhardt, man. He said, this is my favorite car. Fix it up, bring it back.
Stephen Wallace has got him exactly where he wants him. Backup car in the back of the field. Watch out, he's coming toward the top 10. How about the young second-generation driver trying to get his first win here at the home track in Charlotte, North Carolina? Back at Lowe's Motor Speedway under caution for the 3rd time tonight, involving one of our former leaders, Sam Hornish, in the Penske Dodge, having his troubles off of turn 2. Let's show you what happened here a moment ago inside of Brad Baker's 81 car.
Guys, he just got loose down there, Andy, just all by himself, it looked like.
Yeah, it looks like he just got loose on the inside of that 81 car. Does a great job here. He keeps driving the car and doesn't hit anything. He's trying to get to pit road now with his flat tires.
170 miles an hour and doesn't touch a thing. They head on the pit road. Let's check in with Shannon Spade.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson currently running 30, saying that the car is just a little tight through the centers. It feels like he's floating it through the turns. They're going to take 4 tires on this car and a slight air pressure adjustment. Mike.
The last stop and last time down pit road, Jason Leffler took fuel only. This time, though, 4 tires and a chassis adjustment. Car's begun to tighten up a little bit. They'll also take on a full load of fuel as they work around to the left side now. Dave?
Mike Dale Jr.'s team running second talked about just taking Sunoco fuel, but they decided to change 4 tires and give him just a slight air pressure adjustment, just a little bit snug, as he called it, off the corner.
Race off of pit road, chassis adjustment and fuel only for Kyle Busch. Likewise, some tire strategy. Vickers back up the 2nd spot. Jason Leffler losing 6 spots on that exchange on pit road. Back with a special guest in just a moment. Welcome back. High above Lowe's Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina. The aerial coverage provided by our good friends at Goodyear for track-tested technology. Get there on Goodyear Innovation. Now you're looking at a 2,000-acre complex that the folks who know racing affectionately call this the house that Humpy built. We're talking about Humpy, H.A. Humpy Wheeler, the P.T. Barnum of motorsports, and Humpy. A lot of folks, one of the big news discussions this week was we were shocked and saddened that you are leaving this facility after 33 years and so much that you've contributed to the sport. But the good news, I guess, is you are not retiring.
No, I'm not retiring. I'm going to stay in racing. I'm going to write a book and also going to have a TV show and a few other things. I got a lot of things I want to do, and I've still got a lot of energy left. And but I hate leaving this place because, you know, we've got a lot of fond memories here and 32 years and been really fun watching it grow and expand, and also seeing the rise of NASCAR through these years.
You know, we don't have enough time tonight to list all the accomplishments you've had here. First track ever to have year-round housing, first major sports venue, of course, the first lights on a super speedway. As we get set for a restart here and watch David Reagan, what of all you've accomplished are you the most proud of in your tenure here?
Well, I think the lights probably one thing, because everybody thought, well, you couldn't do it, and it was done back in '92, and I think it kind of changed the course because no one had ever illuminated a super speedway, and so I think that was a really good deal. I'm watching my boy David Reagan up there winning. He came up through the Legends car, something we started here too, and real proud of him. Boy, this has been a heck of a race.
It sure has, Humpy, and these fans certainly appreciate all that you've done over the years. You know, when people spoke this week, and we're visiting with H.A. Humpy Wheeler, who is the president and chief operating officer of Speedway Motorsports until this weekend is over, and going to move on to other. Whoa, there is Sam Hornish. And Hornish is nosed into the wall, got a little bit of a little nudge from behind, it looked like.
Yeah, it looked like somebody caught him right in the corner there. Need to look at a replay to see exactly what happened. But boy, he's killed this car in the front end.
Oh, he had such a good car early. They put 2 tires on.
Well, let's see if there was there contact or not. Let's see if we can see if he did get a hit from behind or not. Or the car just snapped around on him.
No, it looks like he just got real loose coming up off turn 2. The thing snapped around so fast, I thought maybe somebody had caught him in the corner.
You know, he was talking earlier. They put 2 tires on last time. He was complaining about that. The car started slipping backwards. He spun out. But I tell you, this car is just not tight enough right now. That's what caused this whole problem. Transitioning from the day to night is giving these guys a problem, Andy.
It does take some patience to get through this phase. This might be the right setup for later in the race, but right here, you can see the car's just too loose.
Why was it last year we saw everything off of turn 4, and thus far tonight it's all been turn 2?
I don't know, maybe that's where Humpy put all the bear grease.
Rusty knows a little bit about that.
Humpy, I got to ask you one thing. I mean, this track off of turn 4 and turn 2 seems like there's been a lot of action, a lot of problems. Be honest with me now. Is it designed that way?
Well, let's put it this way. He's got some character. I've seen you get pretty sideways, Rusty, but you've got to manage to save him. Matter of fact, I think one of the worst wrecks we ever had down here when you went down in the water barrels that time and got real wet, remember?
I do remember that. I got real wet down there. And I remember when you had the big bump going into turn 1. We used to call it the Humpy bump.
Yeah.
Now you took that out, and now you brought the action back to turn 2 and 4. So
we just keep moving it around.
I'm up to what you're doing. I'm all over you, man.
You know, Humpy Wheeler, well, a lot of the drivers commented this week, but Richard Petty, I think, said it best. He said Humpy Wheeler always held true to the notion that it was the fans who drive this sport. A lot of people in the sports over the years have lost touch with the fans. Humpy Wheeler never did that. He loved being a part of what was happening with the fans and also the drivers, and this guy in particular. Remember David Reagan? One of the things Humpy always did was invited young drivers to come over and box him. What the drivers didn't know, and I got that invitation one time, is that Humpy was a 12-time Golden Glove winner as a boxer.
I am David Reagan. I've become good friends with Humpy Wheeler. My dad works for him at the Lowe Motor Speedway. About 2 years ago, he said, come over to my house and we're going to start boxing. We'll see how tough you are, and it's going to toughen you up, strengthen you up. You'll be ready to run 500 laps at Bristol before you know it. I don't want to say Humpy's an old guy, but he's 64, 65 years old, and he throws some pretty hard punches. He's kind of pumping me up.
Good shot.
50 laps to go, Bristol, you're running third. You got to go for the win, and so that gives you a little extra drive. It's a lot of fun, and it's a good time to hang out with Mr. Humpy.
Welcome back to Lowe's Motor Speedway. We are 70 laps in of 200, which will comprise this NASCAR Nationwide Series Carquest Auto Parts 300 here tonight. Working caution for the fourth time, the 12 car of Sam Hornish getting loose and tagging the wall. Hornish, a former leader here in the early laps tonight. We have had 10 lead changes among 7 different drivers. Jason Leffler has led twice for 25 laps. He's led the most laps. David Reagan, who started out, cut his teeth in the Legends cars here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. His dad, certainly a noted NASCAR. Ken Reagan, a NASCAR driver in the short track ranks and Cup Series, now runs that Legends program and is a major part of that success. Joined by H.A. Humpy Wheeler, who announced this week he'll be leaving the racetrack here in his 33rd year, as we'll visit with Humpy again in a moment, as soon as David Reagan brings him down and takes the green flag. Green flag for Reagan. Brian Vickers, our pole sitter, has worked his way all the way back to second position with that very strong Toyota. And behind him is Kyle Busch and another Camry. We'll see if those guys can do something with David Reagan. The 9 car, Casey Kane, was our Aaron's Lucky Dog Free Pass Award winner. He was the first car a lap down, and now he will get back on the lead lap. Casey Kane had an issue with a loose right front wheel, made an unscheduled stop, and now is back on the track and back on the lead lap.
Guys, we saw where these 4 tires have done a lot early in the first 10 laps. I think that right now, these guys got to stand on it really hard in the first 10 laps to pass some cars. And it looks to me like the tires should stabilize out just a little bit. But boy, if they can make the passes early, that's when the tires got the most grip.
Got to hand it to Goodyear. They've got a really good combination for this racetrack now. The track's got a little bit of age on it, a couple of years now, and just seems like it's got a really good combination.
Joined now by Humpy Wheeler about this racetrack. And Humpy, everyone talks about not only the great racing here, but the incredible pre-race shows. You've had everything here over the years. You reenacted the invasion of Grenada. You've had school buses jumping, daredevils, people being shot out of a cannon. Do you have a favorite performance that you think the fans enjoyed the most?
Well, I think the first invasion that we had here was probably my favorite, because nobody was expecting all those Cobra and Apache helicopters to come over to behind the grandstand and drop those howitzers down, and the Special Forces guys rappelled down in, and it was a surprise to everybody. So that's my favorite, because it was like then again, the school bus jump was so stupid. people like that, particularly kids, because a 9-year-old kid, they don't know how many school buses are left, and you have to crash them to jump. And they think if you crash enough of them, they won't have to go to school anymore.
Humpy, some of the most exciting races I've ever witnessed have been the All-Star races and some of the finishes. And I know you were part of the originating the concept of that race, and it's that has to be a special thing too.
Well, it is. Watching this race tonight, I'm thinking this might be the best race of the year that we've seen. I wish that we'd had this kind of action last week. The All-Star race that we had last week wasn't nearly as good as this, but gee whiz, these guys are really going tonight.
Check out this cat right here, this Kyle Busch. Has he impressed you like he has us?
I'm telling you. He looks like a young Rusty Wallace that's got oil on his rear wheels.
That's probably when he had the long hair, right? The big bushy hair?
You'd like to slide those cars around, Rusty. You're a good loose race car driver, and I've always said that the great drivers would go up there in the gray areas where angels fear to tread, and that's where he goes.
You know, Brad Doherty and I were down at the pit studio earlier, and Brad says, man, one of the coolest things I've ever seen Humpy Wheeler do is the night that he had a spaceship jump some rental cars out there. I mean, that was the doggonest thing I ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I tell you, absolutely, Humpy. I tell you, I've seen spaceships fly out of this place. I've seen buses fly out of this place. I just want to say thank you. I've been coming here for over 20 years. You've always been so gracious, so kind to me. I just want you to take me fishing now that you have a little bit of time, and maybe you can take me up on a little bit of boxing. I'd love to box with you sometime.
I don't know about that, Brad. You're too tall for me, but listen, I think if you had not played that basketball, it started racing, if we could have popped a little bubble up on the roof, you could have done a pretty good job down here racing with Rusty and these guys.
Well, I'm working on it. Andy Petrie's my crew chief at the present time, and we're working on trying to get me back to the field somewhat. But thank you so much for all you've done for this sport. You're a true ambassador for the sport. I'm glad you're still going to be around, but I'll tell you, you've done a great job, and you've left such a legacy here. I want to say congratulations and thank you.
Well, thank you, Brad. That means a lot coming from you.
And Humpy, here's the problem. If you box Brad and you're not allowed to hit below the belt, there's nothing else you can reach.
Yeah, I hit him in the knee. I left hook to the knee.
You give him a black and blue belly button, what happened?
While we watch the action up front, our Shannon Spake is caught up with the former leader tonight, Sam Hornish.
That's right, Sam Hornish Jr. leading laps for the first time here in NASCAR racing. Certainly not the way that you wanted to end the race. You said you were both loose tight. How much were you chasing the setup of this car tonight, Sam?
We were chasing it quite a bit because no matter what we did, it was loose, tight, and it just depended on the line. Anytime I tried to get down to the bottom of the racetrack, it got pretty loose, and I just feel bad for the guys at Penske Truck Rental Dodge. They put together a good car. We just couldn't get the handle on it, and then I had to check up for a car in front of me, and as soon as I did, the back end came around, so it's unfortunate for sure.
All right, back to you guys. Caution on the track.
Thank you, Shannon. Yeah, we are under caution again here, lap 80, and Robert Richardson, the Texas native, driving his own car for the first time, the 23 car, had some contact with the concrete, and it will bring out caution number 5 on the night.
Good looking car. I know he hates to tear it up like that, but man, it's been tough tonight.
Yeah, this is a team that's really not funded well either. I mean, you don't want to tear anything up with a low budget, that's for sure.
That same spot there in turn 2, all by himself.
You know, it looks like he just got the air off him a little bit with that car was behind him. I believe it was the 40 car. Possibility of Brian Clausen. Just got him loose, didn't hit him. Just got him loose, it looks like.
Robert, who a lot of guys in the garage here yesterday said has a lot of talent. They want to see this young man be able to get a chance. And as you said, they're trying to put enough nickels and dimes and dollars together to run the rest of the year. And that will not help them there, having contact with the wall off of turn 2. Just the 29 car of Jeff Burton will head down, and the rest of the leaders, we will stay out. And we thank Humpy Wheeler for all you've done, for all the millions of race fans and us around the world who have come to this racetrack for over 3 decades, and what you have done for the sport of NASCAR stock car racing. H.A. Humpy Wheeler has been our guest, and those are the people who appreciate what you have done for 33 years here at the house that Humpy built, Lowe's Motor Speedway. Back in just a moment.
NASCAR Nationwide Series 300-miler tonight at Lowe's Motor Speedway, Charlotte. Coming up on halfway, and Kyle Busch is the race leader. No shock.
Not a surprise at all, but I'll tell you, David Reagan's run a good race and kept himself up around that front. I think it's going to be a big night for Mr. David Reagan.
Reagan running second behind that man in the 32, Kyle Busch, as we look at our Holiday Inn Express race summary. Some of the facts and figures on the night so far here at Charlotte. While you watch some of those numbers come by, I want to talk about Dale Earnhardt Jr. sitting in the 4th spot right now. He is our in-race reporter tonight. And for Junior, been a steady kind of solid night. He started 10th, been in the top 10 all night, and in the top 5 for the last little while.
Got to be happy where he's at. Seems to have a really good race car. They've had some good, consistent runs, and he's inching his way up towards that front L83 car with Earnhardt Jr. in it. Looks pretty tough.
He is our in-race reporter for the night. During this caution, we listened into this conversation between he and crew chief Lance McGrew.
Kelly wants to know, do you just feel like chit-chatting or what? Yeah. I'm having a good time, man. I mean, the car's good. This set here don't feel quite as good as the first set or the second set, but we'll see. 10-4, they actually looked on paper like they'd get better all night. I mean, that's how we set them up like usual. Well, if they start, definitely, you know, if we're going through a phase where the track's changing, let's keep up with it. I'll try to stay on you about every 15 laps and get an update. Simple. It feels like to me we're losing more spring rate out the right than the left. 10-4.
So the feedback from Dale Earnhardt Jr. to crew chief Lance McGrew after they decided not to pit under this caution flag. Jeff Burton was the first of the leaders who did, came off the track 7th, came back onto the racetrack in 20th position. And speaking of 20, the Joe Gibbs Racing 20 car trying to keep that winning streak going.
Yeah, Denny Hamlin's had a good run thus far. He's keeping himself, like I said, throughout the other guys up near the front, giving himself an opportunity, and had a good run going that last run. Let's see what this set of tires do for him. I think Denny's going to get up front and lead some laps here.
You know, it's that whole clean air theme has been an interesting thing over these 2 weeks of racing at this speedway. Be interesting to see if that 20 car gets up front and has clean air, if he can take off and run away with this thing and keep that winning streak going for Joe Gibbs Racing. Memorial Weekend, of course, and a Salute the Troops program ongoing this weekend at the Speedway. Mike Massaro has more from pit road.
And that's right, Alan. We just caught up with the Senior Vice Commander-in-Chief for the Veterans of Foreign War, Glenn Gardner. Thanks for being with us. What do you think of the way the veterans are being honored this weekend by the NASCAR stars?
I think it's great. We appreciate Lowe's and all the fans that are supporting our veterans and letting them know, the young men and women, that we appreciate what they're doing every day to preserve our freedoms.
Well, Doc, as you know, this is all about the veterans. Let's go back to racing.
Indeed, it is all about the veterans here, and a salute to the troops here on the Memorial Day weekend of motorsports. And there are so many of those valuable men and women here that work so hard and sacrifice so much for our freedoms, that have been able to come tonight and be a part of this special night and special weekend tribute. Kyle Busch will lead him down to the green flag. 85 of 200 laps are in the books. And again, Kyle, a two-time winner here in NASCAR nationwide competition, has never won here in the Cup car, trying to get win number 3. There is the 83. Speaking of never winning here, Dale Earnhardt Jr. flying the Navy colors, now sliding back into 4th position.
I'll tell you what, when he says his car feels real good to him, it's driving really nice, and that's got to be a good feeling right now, because Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s had some bad cars, he's had some good ones. And when he said this is good, must be real good.
Comes David Reagan, that 6 car. Just doesn't look like to me that we've seen anybody that's a clear favorite so far. It's just been a great race.
Hey, well, we talked earlier in the broadcast about who might be our dark horse. I said David Reagan because Andy's just been so strong all week long, and week after week, he doesn't tear up cars. He keeps the thing up front, and Roush has really got to be happy with this kid right now.
He's definitely coming into his own, but he's got a tiger by the tail here with Kyle Busch. It's not going to make it easy on him.
Jason Leffler on pit road for 4 tires here under the green, and costly time by Leffler, who had already led twice for 25 laps. A 14-second unscheduled stop for Jason. We'll update you on his situation here momentarily. Side-by-side action up front, and it is Toyota for Busch and Ford Fusion for Reagan. Busch and Reagan sounds like a political rally here, but David Reagan on the inside. Young man trying to get his first ever victory. Began racing on this racetrack on the small track at the age of 12 in Bandoleros. Dale Earnhardt Jr. going beneath David Reagan to take his second spot away. The 83 car of Earnhardt Jr. has yet to lead a lap tonight.
David Reagan says, okay, I couldn't do anything with him. You see if you can.
Yeah, you work him over right now. He's got all that Toyota power under the hood, but I tell you, it's got to be feeling good right now, being Dale Earnhardt Jr. driving your own car and running this good. A lot of pride in that, guys. There really is.
And how much would he like to win one here for all the folks that are here for the Navy and the people that are watching and the ships at sea all around the world as they watch this telecast tonight. Dave.
And just think what Junior as a team owner has gone through in the last 2 weeks since Darlington. At Darlington, they had 10 cars that would have raced in this race in their inventory. After Darlington and after the Monday test here, they were down to 6. Mark Martin wrecked twice at Darlington. And they lost a car of Brad Keslowski's, and then David Green in this very 83 car testing here. They were down to 6 cars. They needed 6 cars to come to this race. They barely had them, and they went through all that trauma just to get this 3rd car in the race. And now Junior is fighting for that lead.
Talk about effort equaling results. This team has worked so hard, and and if you just joined our coverage, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is our in-race reporter. We'll be visiting with him as we have already throughout the night. Lance McGrew on the pit box. Lance, by the way, was on the pit box early in the year when Mark Martin won at Las Vegas to give this team, Junior Motorsports, their first ever victory. And, of course, maybe the magic is back tonight.
Well, he's got some magic going on right now, but, you know, thinking back at it, they had an off weekend last weekend. They ran Darlington, Nationwide Series had an off weekend, and thank gosh they had that. They're able to get these cars put back together because, man, he could have been out of time and no cars here.
Jimmy Johnson inside this 10 car, Brian Vickers. These guys have a great race going on. That's what I love about this racetrack. It's got grooves all over it. You can run high, you can run low, you can run the middle.
And, you know, if there's anybody who knows about what you just said, Andy, it's got to be Jimmy Johnson with winning that many 600-mile races here at Charlotte. I mean, this guy knows what this track's going to do, no matter what he drives.
He knows every square inch of Lowe's Motor Speedway.
Jimmy Johnson, a 5-time winner here. They almost had to rename the track Johnsonville. Of course, it's Lowe's Motor Speedway. Pretty good the fact that that's the same sponsor he carries on the side of the car. And he makes his debut tonight in the 2008 NASCAR Nationwide Series in the 5 car. Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, you guys were talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr. wanting to go to victory lane here. Well, I can guarantee that the guy behind that number 5 car, Jimmy Johnson, would love to go to victory lane here in the Nationwide Series. Now, I spoke with Johnson before he got in the car, just asked him what it was like going from the Cup car to this Nationwide car. And although they're very different, he said this car, a lot more downforce, as we know. He says that I can be a little bit more aggressive, similar to the downforce that we saw in the Cup cars last season. He says it's a lot of fun to be able to go all out.
And if this 5 car would go to victory lane, that would make Dale Earnhardt Jr. happy too, because that's his. He owns the car.
And boy, that's hard to get used to too. I always think about this being a Hendrick car out of Hendrick shops, and there's a lot of that, you know, into that car. I realize that, but still. Now look at him. I mean, there's the 88 car behind him. That's a Dale Earnhardt Jr. car too. You gotta be feeling pretty good about that.
5 and 88, sorting it out for 5th position. Left side of your screen, the battle for the lead between Kyle Busch and Earnhardt Jr. And by the way, Kyle Busch did not put fresh tires on in that previous stop. That's one of the reasons he's able to get all the way up to restart in 3rd position. So he's running on some used rubber. Good job for those Goodyear Eagles. Holding on up front for Kyle Busch and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Back with more from Charlotte in just a moment.
Back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, Charlotte, just past the midway point of tonight's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Kyle Busch out in front and stretching out his advantage now on Dale Earnhardt Jr. to about 1 second. Jason Leffler leading the race earlier, had a botched up pit stop, lost some track position, then pitted under the green flag. Mike, what happened?
It was an unscheduled pit stop, obviously, and you can see right here, if you look at the right front tire, Alan, about a ½ inch cut in the tire. Still a long way to go here in this race, but Leffler's going to have to rally back from this piece of adversity.
That 31st place for Jason Leffler now. The first car 1 lap down, a caution, and he gets the lucky dog and gets back on the lead lap. Now let's go up to speed with Nationwide Insurance and check on some of the front runners. We start with the race leader, Kyle Busch, and go back to Mr. Massaro. Michael?
And Alan, of course, we're talking about Kyle Busch. Believe it or not, he's not completely satisfied with the way this car is handling. Still saying it's a little bit tight. Earlier in the race, he was saying the right front was chattering. They have corrected that problem, but still, it's not perfect. But Kyle Busch still out front, having a very strong run. Dave?
This race car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. running in 2nd now as we pan back and we see him in that picture, trying to find his way back to the front. Was looking a little bit earlier at a situation maybe with his right rear tire getting a little bit of abuse, but that seems to have gone away, and he stays at the front of this pack. The 20 car of Denny Hamlin thought he had a right front flat tire. That was at the run before this last caution. They thought maybe the caution came out at just the right time. They could come in and check it. And then Denny reasoned and said, no, I think it was just low air pressures. So once the air pressure came up, the car seemed to be okay. And since the last restart, nothing's gone wrong for him. Shannon?
Well, Dave, Jimmie Johnson's last pit stop on lap 62, he took 4 sticker tires. Right now he's saying that that right front is starting to give up just a little bit. The team's telling him just to let the tires cool a little bit. They think they may have gotten a little hot when he was racing with the 10 car. They said let him cool, then race back up. Expect to see Jimmie pit between lap 115 and 120.
And Brian Vickers has gotten back up to the 6th position now in that 10 car. Remember, he fell back because they worked on his car for a long time on one pit stop. They had a 2-tire stop on the last time they came down pit road. That gave them lots of track position, and now Vickers looking to the high line to try to make up some ground. Alan?
So those are your top 5 with, as Shannon mentioned, pit stops probably about 15 laps away if the race stays under the green flag. Kyle Busch, the race leader, looking to add on to an already impressive win total thus far in the 2008 NASCAR Nationwide Series season. Mr. Kyle Busch has gone to victory lane earlier this year at Texas in the 18 car, Phoenix in the 18 car, Mexico City in the 20, trying to add one in the 32 tonight.
The Indianapolis 500, where winners are carved in history and victory never tasted so sweet. For almost 100 years, the world's greatest drivers have met at the Brickyard. This year, Danica Patrick and Helio Castroneves lead the high-speed charge to racing immortality. The 92nd running of the Indianapolis 500 tomorrow at 11 Eastern on ESPN2 and continues at noon Eastern on ABC.
And what an Indianapolis 500 it should be. 4 former winners. How about for the 2nd year in a row, 3 women in the field. Danica Patrick, of course, you see there Sarah Fisher, Milka Duno, all 3 starting, all 3 very talented and capable. Could we see history made in the 92nd running of the Indianapolis 500? How about the great names that are there? Remember, there's a Foyt there, Anthony Foyt, Marco and John Andretti, and a 19-year-old Graham Rahal, already a winner this year. How about a 19-year-old possibly having a shot to win the Indianapolis 500? It will be a great show at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Coverage beginning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2 and noon on ABC.
That was amazing when Danica Patrick went over there in Japan. I mean, you just knew it was going to happen anytime she finally pulled it off. And I hear she's really fast up at Indy, so I bet she's going to have a great race tomorrow.
Yeah, how about the Ganassi cars? 1-2. Scott Dixon has been so strong all week, all month long. And, of course, Dan Weldon has already won it there in the middle of row 1. Here at Lowe's Motor Speedway, it is Kyle Busch, who has been one of the hot drivers here in NASCAR. He has 8 total wins in competition among NASCAR's 3 major touring series. 3 of those wins have come here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Now, the guys who are atop the points are the points leader here, Clint Boyer, and, of course, the guy who's the reigning series champion coming into tonight, Carl Edwards, back in 3rd. Neither one of them have been a factor here thus far tonight in this race in their first 115 laps.
Been keeping an eye on both these guys, and Carl Edwards especially. We see this 2-car Clint Boyer. He's actually in 11th spot, but Carl Edwards is 16th. He's not even in the top 15, and he's really not made any headway going towards the front.
Dave, more on Carl Edwards?
Yeah, remember they had the problems earlier with the car being very, very loose. It went very, very tight. They spent time on pit road trying to fix this race car. They closed off the right front shock at one point just to try to get it to work right, and they still don't have the car where they want it to be. Not where they want to be in terms of fighting the JGR cars and getting Carl to a championship tonight in Lowe's Motor Speedway.
I'll tell you what, guys, I'm sitting here watching these laps, these lap times. We're at lap 117 right now. There's a handful of these guys do enter just a couple laps, and Kyle Busch is one of them to pit. So, I mean, it's going to be a real shootout between the guys that pitted on lap 63 versus the one that pitted last time on lap 82. So, Andy, this is a crapshoot.
Yeah, you got some of these guys that can stay out there a few more laps that made pit stops under that previous caution flag. That could just shake things up. If it cycles out green, it's no problem. But if we happen to get a caution in between that, it can shake it up.
Jimmie Johnson in the 5 car being shown in the 5th position, making his debut in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. We're told he'll run 3 times this year. He'll run, of course, the track here, Lowe's Motor Speedway, and also out at his home track. He grew up in El Cajon, California, run out at California Speedway.
I'm really impressed with what Jimmy's done so far. We all know he's a great race car driver, but this is the first time that he's actually driven in this Nationwide Series on the same weekend when he's running his Cup car. And that's a lot of difference in these cars. You know, that car tomorrow is a lot different. This is the first time that Jimmy Johnson's really experienced that.
The top 14 cars will be on pit road momentarily, so we're going to take a quick break and come back and cover a critical pit stop here. It'll be about 75 laps to go here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Stay with us, back in a moment. Welcome back to Lowe's Motor Speedway. There's the damage on Brian Clausen's car, the 18-year-old Indiana rookie, bringing out caution for the 6th time tonight. And pretty heavy damage on his Dodge. I'll show you what happened to Brian here up in the corner.
He just loses it just like some of these other guys have off that corner.
Yeah, it looks like he got the right rear tire right up in the dirty part of the racetrack. You can see where the track's black and then it gets gray. That means when you get in that gray, you're out of the groove, and that's where he got.
Well, bad news for Brian Clausen as you see his car coming back, but maybe even worse news for 3 guys who had already been on and off pit road, had made pit stops. Mike Bliss, Chase Miller, and the 5 car of Jimmy Johnson had already made a pit stop. Now here come the other leaders under caution to pit road. Mike.
And Kyle Busch heading down pit road. His only complaint, the car a little bit tight. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment, taking a pound out of the left front. They're also complaining the car's been running a little bit hot. They contemplated taking some tape off the front of the car, but have decided against it. They do not want to change the handling characteristics on this car. 4-tire change in fuel on Kyle Busch. Dave?
Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car, center of your screen. They'll take on 4 tires. No changes. The car is good. Same thing for Brian Vickers on the bottom of the screen. I think they're going to make an air pressure adjustment because that car would not turn in the center of the corner. Junior leaves pit road. There goes Vickers off.
And the race off of pit road, Brian Vickers will get there first and gain a couple of spots. Brad Keslowski, great pit work there for Tony Eury Sr. and crew. Greg Biffle gaining a couple spots. Kyle Busch, lengthy stay, 4 tires and a bit of an adjustment. They did not put tape, as you heard, on the car, and he will lose 7 positions. Working caution for the 6th time tonight here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Back with a restart in just a moment. Welcome back to the Carquest Auto Parts 300 here under caution for the 6th time tonight at Lowe's Motor Speedway. Great crowd on hand, and this caution flag, by the way, a big break for Kevin Harvick. He becomes the latest Aaron's Lucky Dog Free Pass Award winner. He will get back on the lead lap. There is the 2-time series champion, and he will get back on the lead lap and put us now with 25 cars on the lead lap. Issues now in the 32 pits. We showed you that on the race off of pit road that Kyle Busch lost 7 positions in the pits. Here's what happened. Now watch the Jackman.
See these guys making their routine stop, and they just didn't get the car high enough. Got it high enough to get this tire off, but you see the right rear tire changer trying to get the tire on. Has to get it another pump from the jack. That cost a ton of time right there, and that's the 2nd time tonight that we've seen this exact same thing happen with this team.
Was that jack leaking down because it was high enough to get the tire off? Why didn't it go back on?
Well, it seems like I've seen this many times, Rusty. When you jack up the car, you're able to pull that tire off really quickly as it's coming up, and then you don't have enough room to get the new tire back on. So, you know, it's just a mistake and a misjudgment by the jackman.
Gotcha.
Leader is actually Brian Vickers, the 3rd car in line. See those cars on the inside? Those are the cars that had pitted right before the caution came out. There's Bliss. There's the 27 of Coleman. Of course, Leffler is there. So some of these guys had pitted. Jimmy Johnson is there in the 5 car. These guys trying to stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson had just made a green flag pit stop when that caution came out. See a little smoke coming out of Chase Miller's car here. Looks like an engine maybe. Now he's got some smoke coming out. It might be a right front tire.
Chase was the 3rd car among the top 15 that had pitted just as the yellow flag came out and was actually caught on pit road.
Man, he's got to hold on to that baby right now because it doesn't look, I see it smoke, but it looks like actually something's rubbing causing this problem.
Yeah, he needs to get that car to pit road.
I saw sparks coming out of the back of the car. Something's definitely went away in that baby.
You see the sparks flying out of these cars. The speeds are picking up big time right now because the track's getting cooler and these guys are running faster, and that makes these cars travel more, and you see more sparks flying out.
And you can guarantee you one thing, with 72 laps to go, the intensity's building up like it always does, and that's when you're going to see the sparks, just like you said, Andy. I mean, these cats are driving these babies.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 83 car, being shown in 3rd position. The 20 car, a couple behind him, that is Denny Hamlin. And again, a lot of smoke coming out of cars as they were trying to just sparking coming out of the corner. There's the 19 as he nearly spun coming out of turn 4. Dave.
Yeah, it's definitely the motor, guys. You can see that now. He said wide open. I was only turning 7,500 RPM, and that's not as much as he needs.
I'll tell you what, if I saw sparks coming out of the back of that car, it must have been a lot of metal parts coming out the tailpipe.
This is a great break for Jimmy Johnson now. He'll get his lap back. He gets it back the old-fashioned way. He stays in front of the leader.
Races him back.
Yeah, low pressure there. At 10-4, the light had been on, but I've been having 50 pounds of pressure. Like, it only came on under caution, but I still have 50 pounds of pressure.
Looks like Jason Leffler will also get one back by the lucky dog. That's a break for 2 guys.
So, and a bad break for Chase Miller, who had just recorded his first career top 10 at Darlington just a couple of weeks ago.
Tell you what, Johnson and Luff are getting those laps back. That's not good for the field because those were 2 fast race cars. Now the rest of these guys have to deal with these guys. I mean, and when you get your lap back as a driver, man, you just feel like you got a new life, baby. You're ready to go, and you're so happy. You're back up in the wheel. You're like, I'm back in the game.
How do you think the crew feels? I mean, Chad Walter and company, they're watching and realizing they made the call to bring him on the pit road, but suddenly the caution comes out. Watch this reaction. These guys know, hey, we're back in the ball game, guys.
High five and Andy getting after it. Awesome.
Never give up.
Under caution for the 7th time tonight. 70 laps to go. It is Vickers, Earnhardt Jr. team cars. Brad Keselowski, Denny Hamlin yet to lead in the top 5 there. Jeff Burton is 6th. Back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, it is a Memorial Day weekend tradition here deep in the heart of stock car country. Glad to have you with us for NASCAR Nationwide Series action as we work caution flag number 7 coming out on lap 129. And Chase Miller's having issues with his car. An engine came apart. And while we were under caution, let's visit with our in-race reporter, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who currently sits in 2nd position.
Hey, Dale Jr., Rusty Wallace, you got us, ESPN?
Yeah, man.
Hey, buddy, this racetrack, has it made the transition so far? I mean, it looks like your lap times are picking up. Is the car kind of stabilized now?
Well, the car's gotten looser as we put the next set of tires on. Right now, I'm getting real free in the center, so that's worrying me a little bit. But we got some time to make some more adjustments, so we'll just have to see.
Hey, man, you got your teammate on your bumper there. You watching him or just driving your own race?
I didn't quite catch that.
Said you got your teammate on your bumper there. You watching him or you just driving your own race?
Watching him out this mirror over here. He looked like he was about to take me out there at one time. He got a little loose down there, but he's doing a good job. Hopefully we can get up here and one of us gets a win. Jimmy's back on the lead lap. And one of us needs to get up here and try to win this thing. We got some good cars here tonight.
All right, man. You got a lot of guys in the Navy pulling for you. Have a good race tonight, buddy.
Hey, Lance McGrew, Andy Petrie, you got a copy?
Yeah, 10-4.
Hey, Lance, we hadn't seen a real clear favorite tonight. Who do you think you're going to have to beat to win this thing?
Kind of hard to say. Track position means a lot right now, and we're gambling to get it at the end here.
10-4, they're coming around here to get the green, and your car looks really good, so you might have a shot at this thing. Good luck.
10-4.
The 83 car, by the way, that Dale Jr. is driving tonight was the 5 car that Mark Martin won with at Las Vegas. Remember what happened in the final 5 laps there? The contact between Martin and Carl Edwards, and it took out the 88 car of Brad Keselowski, who people thought might get his first win. So that's the car with a different number on it that actually got him in Vegas as an accident, of course, and he's following now. And Junior says he almost took me out.
That wouldn't be too smart unless they actually were going for the win.
Yeah, no, you don't spin out the boss at all. That wouldn't be a good move. Okay, Pace truck pulls off. We'll see if Brian Vickers can hang on. His Toyota got a couple of eager Chevys right behind him, Earnhardt Jr. and Brad Keselowski. As you watch the battle up front, we are being told the 22 got an issue because of non-compliant refueling. Apparently the 22 car refueling the car, Josh Wise, without a catch can man. That's a no-no.
That is a no-no. You got to have a catch can engaged to be able to fuel the car, and they didn't do that, so they got a penalty. Junior putting a little pressure on Brian Vickers right here.
Oh, he wants to lead this thing, man. I mean, this is home track right here. Lowe's Motor Speedway. I mean, Junior, I mean, I would too. I mean, this is a great racetrack, and it's his own team. Just wants to do it.
Rusty, he told you a moment ago that his car was free in the center of the corner. What does he do as far as positioning of the race car that can help alleviate that as he tries to overtake the leader?
Well, you always see Dale Jr. running on top of the racetrack. Generally, if the cars get loose, Jerry, you'll move up top, get a little more grip. It actually makes a racetrack just a little bit bigger feeling, which actually tightens the car up a little bit.
One thing that kind of surprised me was that the track had transitioned to this phase and cooled down, and his car actually got looser. A lot of times you see the cars tight. Whoa, you see Brian Vickers getting loose coming off turn 2.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to go by down the back straightaway, and I got to believe if he gets underneath him, which he has done, you will hear this crowd on their feet because he is from nearby Kannapolis, and these fans love Dale Earnhardt Jr. They watched his daddy win 8 times here. He has never won a points-paying race at Lowe's Motor Speedway, and he just led for the 2nd lap tonight.
Yeah, but look back here. I see that 20 car coming. This is the most life I've seen out of him all night. Looks like they've got that car ready to go now for the phase of the race that actually pays.
We know there's some of these guys are going to try to make it on field with 63 laps to go. That's stretching it, but if they get some caution laps, some of these guys can actually make it.
Hey, let me remind you folks, that guy in the 29 car is no slouch here. Jeff Burton is a 3-time winner here in both Nationwide and Cup. He has won 6 times, and Mike, he's starting to feel his oats a little bit here in the late laps.
And you know what? He's had to deal with a little bit of adversity too, Doc. Back on lap 27, during a pit stop, the jack broke. They lost 14 positions, restarted 24th, and have now rallied to work their way inside the top 5. Don't count this team out just yet.
Speaking of team cars, how about Brad Keselowski saying, okay, you hired me to drive, you hired me to win, that's what I'm going to try to do, so I got to go by you.
And this is for the lead, baby.
How about the 88 car, Dave?
And Junior, I was listening to Junior on the radio, he said, man, that's a pretty sight. That's his team car taking the lead. And earlier today, Pop Suri told me that Brad had a pretty fast race car. If they can keep it under him all night long, they'll be fine. And now he takes the lead. And Junior watching.
A lot of discussion this week, Dave, you know, and a lot of the guys talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr. maybe taking the 88 car and going to a NASCAR Sprint Cup in 2009. And said we're going to have to invest in new cars with the COT maybe coming to the NASCAR Nationwide Series. He might make the move. Right, Rusty, why would he do that?
Well, Jerry, right in the middle of next year, they're going to make a transition from the current Nationwide car to the new COT. A lot of teams aren't liking that because it's going to cost them a lot of money. I went from Dodge to Chevrolet. Andy, you know this well. It cost me $3 million. Junior's thinking, hey, if I got to spend all this money, I'm just going to go to the Cup level. And believe it or not, it's almost easier to find sponsorship in that rank than it is in a Nationwide Series. So he's got a real decision to make. But I'll tell you what, this thing is costly building these new cars.
Some of the things I've heard out of Dale Jr. is that, hey, it doesn't cost a whole lot more to build Cup cars as it does to build Nationwide Series cars. But one thing it does do, it costs a lot more money to run the Cup Series than it does this series because of all the programs you have to have in place. So, well, I'll tell you what, he'll have a tiger by the tail when he gets onto this Cup Series.
Totally agree with that, Andy. Let me ask you a question, though. The cost of the car, building one Nationwide car versus a Cup car, is it exactly the same?
It's virtually the same thing. That's not really where the expense comes in or the difference in the expense between the two series. It's just because of the competition level in the Sprint Cup Series is so high that you have to have all these aero programs and chassis programs and engineers and people everywhere, testing programs that you don't really have to have in this series to be competitive.
And by the way, the purse for tonight's Nationwide race, $1.2 million. The NASCAR Sprint Cup race tomorrow night, $6.67 million. Big difference there in what you're going to make in the race. There's the 7 car. I guess he had some issues, had a frightening moment a moment ago.
Yeah, he's having some struggles right here. I don't know what's wrong, but he's been struggling with this car. See, like 3 wide coming off the corner. Gets a little nuts from Kyle Busch. That might be one of his issues.
I started to say, baby, that is tight right there. That's when your cars really get loose, when you got a bumper under your back ears.
Good save, though.
Hurry. You're clear.
Cool thing, Mike had enough real estate right there to let that car slide out and hold on to it, because that was a big moment right there.
Mike being shown in 17th position, by the way, still on the lead lap. Good run for his car number 7, the Geico Toyota. And Mike trying to hang on. He's currently 9th in the points and steadily moving up in the series point standings.
And the way he moves up in the standings is keeping this car going the right direction. He did a great job right there keeping that car going straight. Shannon?
Yeah, guys, Mike Wallace is having a great season. He got his first DNF 2 weeks ago at Darlington, but this team is really happy where they are. Mike Wallace said coming into this season that he wanted to be consistent, he wanted wanted to be competitive. He really feels that he's there now. And they're just looking to raise the bar a little bit higher and get Mike Wallace into the top 10.
Mike Wallace running full-time for the second consecutive year here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Told me in the garage here yesterday, said, I remember my first time here, I got to drive my brother Rusty's car. He had a car for Kenny, and I got to drive that car. It was a Pontiac number 93. He said, I'll never forget how well we ran and how much I enjoyed this racetrack. It's one of my favorite places to come. Obviously, these teams love showing up here in front of the hometown fans and sponsors. 54 laps to go. What about the 88 car looking for his very first win in NASCAR Nationwide competition? Dave?
And remember when he went by Junior and Junior said, what a pretty sight going by? Well, then team owner Dale Earnhardt Jr. got a little concerned. Listen.
He's got to chill out. He's a little loose. He's doing great. If he'll back the corner up maybe 1 foot, he'll have to grip off. Just leave him on. He'll do it. He's doing all right. Just chasing it up the racetrack pretty bad off the corner. I'd hate to tear them both up. He can drive on away from him if he just settle in the corner better.
I love it. Tell him what to do, then he'll get it. Man, I hate to tear up equipment. Great stuff, hey guys.
Outstanding stuff. And how about a great night? A lot of folks here from the United States Navy on a Memorial Day weekend. How special would this be if a young man like Brad Keselowski could possibly get his first win? This racetrack has been very good to produce first-time winners. We're going to tell you about some of those great names who won their first race at this racetrack. Earnhardt Jr. trying to get the first nationwide win, and this guy trying to get his first win ever in NASCAR competition.
Our coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series moves on to the Monster Mile in Dover, Delaware. Next Saturday, 2:30 Eastern, ESPN2. Coverage presented by DAP. The Monster Mile, a great place for first-time winners. We've seen it a lot over the years. It's also a place for pretty great racing, too.
Fast racetrack. I love Dover. Absolutely fast.
Now, remember, we've been talking about the Joe Gibbs Racing 20 car. Middle guy in the picture there between J.D. Gibbs and Coach Joe. Now on the right, that is Joey Logano. Sliced bread. The nickname he's been given, meaning he's the greatest thing to come along since sliced bread.
We're going to find out next week at Dover. Joey Logano, the brightest young star on the horizon. Good shoe. We get to watch him get in this nationwide car. This 20 car, which has won a lot of races, a lot of pressure. We're going to see if he can live up to it.
That was the birthday cake celebrating Joey's 18th birthday today. That means he's now legal to run in the top-level NASCAR touring divisions. Makes his nationwide debut at Dover next week. Now, things are beginning to get a little crazy and a little murky where the strategy picture is concerned for the end of this race. Looking at Kyle Busch, remember he was the leader earlier, had the problem on the pit stop at lap 124 where the jack wasn't up high enough. It dropped him all the way back to 8th place in line. Then on that last caution, he came in and topped off the fuel with 69 laps to go.
Yeah, he took no tires. Came in, topped off fuel. But we saw him lead the race, and he was 2/10 quicker than the field before the previous caution out front on old tires. So I think they've got a great handling race car. Obviously, it's going to be interesting, though, to see where he winds up. You get about a 50 to 55 lap window on fuel, Allen. So he's going to be a little bit short.
Counting on having some more cautions and not pitting under those cautions to make that fuel last to the finish. Now, just a little flashback, perhaps, to Richmond. Remember that night?
Yep, he runs up and gives Stephen Wallace a little tap. And I tell you, Stephen Wallace showed a lot of maturity because watch him get back in the gas real hard here. He thought about it.
Yeah.
But it would have been a wise move. Kyle tapped him on the straightaway. Just a little love tap. Stephen didn't want to tap him in the corner and wreck him. That's a mature move by Stephen Wallace.
We have had 7 cautions thus far. Remember that both Brad and Rusty said it'd be 10 or more cautions in this race. And Doc, I think Kyle Busch is going to need 10 cautions to have enough laps to make it to the finish on fuel.
Exactly, Alan. In fact, we're doing a little calculating up here. We got our crew chief working his calculator, and Andy Petrie. If we stay green, how short will he be? Talking about Kyle Busch.
Yeah, if it stays green, he should wind up about 15 laps short of making it to the finish. But Kyle Busch made a pit stop there and got some fuel, and he has to go about 69 laps, and that's about at least 5 laps short of being able to make. Oh, now we got a caution. This will change it.
9 car of Casey Kane. Kelly Byers involved. Those cars spin and come into contact, and that will totally change the complexion of the fuel strategy here. These 2 cars were battling for 12th position, and Casey Kane with his palm turned up saying, hey, what gives here? Trying to, we'll find out what happened.
Right there. Set inside. He should have given up the spot, though.
8th caution flag tonight, lap 159.
Good sink in there.
Getting to that point of the race where
bring it to us here.
there's less give and take.
Boy, when you get less laps out there, 41 to go, I mean, you get it on, and boy, Casey get down in there and just start running out of room on the bottom of the racetrack. And
yeah, Kelly definitely squeezed Casey Kane down to the bottom of the racetrack. Did not give him near enough room.
Guys, I think that was just a racing accident right there. I mean, there's two cats going for it. Casey just ran out of room on that one.
I'm not sure that the 47 car, Kelly Byers, saw Casey under him there. Because he just turned to the bottom.
That was unbelievable. I mean, two good cars into the wall, and Casey and look at Stephen Wallace go by, misses about a foot. I mean, that could have been a big one right there. So this totally changes it. Andy, I got to ask you a question now. You look at Kyle Busch. He was trying to make it on fuel. They all going to come down now?
Yeah, you'll likely see it. You'll see all the leaders come this time, at least to get topped off with fuel. They won't come this time because the pit road will be closed. You got a big mess there to clean up. These cars will come down pit road even though it is closed because they're crashed, but the leaders will have to wait till it opens.
Again, these cars were battling for 12th and 13th position. They both were in the chase in terms of the hunt of getting a top 10 finish. Casey Kane, there's Kelly Byers, who's running full-time in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Kelly came in here 14th in the points. He's had a struggle the last few weeks after having a good beginning to 2008. It has been a frustrating last few events for Kelly Byers in that 47 car. Then take a look at the finishes, 31st, 36th. He has not been able to get above 20th here in the last few weeks, and certainly you see what it's cost him in the points from 9th. He slid all the way back to 14th, and that will further drop him tonight behind the wall getting work on the car.
He had a great car at Darlington and got caught up in that late race crash, and then here he gets caught up in another kind of a late race crash too. So tough break for Kelly.
It is a tough break, and don't give up on this kid because of these results you're seeing right there. He's a lot better than that. This kid's a good driver. He'll get back.
This is why they closed pit road. One of these crashed cars came down through here leaking a lot of fluid, and these guys had to clean it up, and they didn't need everybody on pit road while they were trying to do that. And they especially didn't need them on pit road with all this oil and water on the racetrack and on pit road.
Well, you got to believe they're going to bring the jet dryer out, at least probably the sweep truck, to try to get that oil up and then blow it off, because if these guys come down pit road with all this mess, this could be a disaster.
There he comes. Here comes your sweeping truck.
Well, you know that the jet dryer wasn't going to get it done. That just blows off the debris. It's there. This oil is going to be ground up and dried up, and that truck will do it.
There's Kelly Byers walking away and frustrated back toward the garage area. Now we are under caution here for the 8th time. Let's listen in and see what maybe our in-race reporter, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and these guys are going to do on this pit stop, this critical pit stop coming up.
Just do 2, I reckon. 10-4, 10-4. We're going to do 2 in 1 can. All we need 7 gallons.
2 tires, 1 can of fuel. Andy, we've seen the fact that no tires really helped Kyle Busch a little bit ago. What's the deal with 2 tires instead of 4?
Well, I guess Lance McGrew feels like the 2 tires are going to be just a little bit, worth a little bit, and they got to put 7 gallons of fuel in. They can do that in just about the time it takes to change those tires. So it would make sense if they think it'll help to go ahead and put tires on too.
Under caution here as we're going to wind this one down. We have 38 laps to go. Good crowd on hand here. Memorial Day weekend. It is a tradition here deep in the heart of stock car country. And these aerial shots provided by our good friends at Goodyear. For track-tested technology, get there with Goodyear.
And you just got to wonder. I mean, he had 36 laps on his tires. Dale Jr. has. I mean, that's a lot of laps just to think about 2 tires, don't you think?
This tire holds up real good there, Rusty. I've talked to these guys, and I actually talked to Lance McGrew. He said they ran, I don't know how many, 35 laps, and they had 0 wear on the right front tire. So the tires are really holding up well.
I guess I keep thinking back to Sam Hornich when he put 2 tires on it, and he spun and he was screaming. He said, I hated that. I wish we wouldn't have done it. But again, if he keeps that baby up front and that clean air, that track position's everything.
Rusty, from a driver's standpoint, what's going through Brad Keselowski's mind? I mean, here's a young man who got the opportunity of a lifetime to get to drive for Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the Navy. You know, he's a very patriotic young man, and here he is just, 38 laps away from what could be the biggest night in his career thus far in his first win.
Jerry, leading here at Charlotte, Memorial Day weekend in the Navy car, right here in Charlotte. Dale Jr.'s car. Doesn't get any better than that. If this guy can pull this thing off, I mean, that would be the highlight of his career, that's for sure.
Here he comes down pit road. His pit road will be open. They're trying to get the sweeper out of the way as the cars will come down at 45 miles per hour headed toward you, Mike.
And Doc, with some inconsistency in the tires this weekend, some of these teams have earmarked their best set of tires for this stop. That's what the 29 team has done. They're going to bolt on a 3-lap set of scuffs. 4 tire change in fuel. Car just a little bit loose, but you know, Jeff Burton likes a very loose race car. No chassis adjustments on the 29. Dave?
Middle of your screen, leader Brad Keslowski says the only thing I don't want is fuel only. They'll give him 2 rights and fuel, send him on his way. Dale Earnhardt Jr., 2 rights on the bottom, but looks like they're a little slow on the right front. Now they get him pushed away, 83 away with 2 tires as well.
There's the race off of pit road. You see the guys that have gained, Hamlin and Boyer. Keselowski back a couple of spots. Leffler up 9. How about a couple of cars that stayed on the racetrack? Now, Greg Biffle stayed on the track, as did the 32 car of Kyle Busch. And we'll update their strategy and why they're doing what they're going to do. Remember, Kyle Busch did not change tires the last time we had a caution flag. What are they thinking? We'll tell you when we come back to Charlotte in just a moment. Back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, getting set for the restart here with just 36 laps to go, and the drama beginning to build here. Kyle Busch did not pit. The 16 car of Greg Biffle did not pit, and the 22 car also stayed out, and that is Josh Wise. And we're going to see what's going to happen. The first car that pitted back in 4th position, Denny Hamlin. The 20 car did not take tires, made an adjustment, and now he's going to try to make an adjustment in the standings as the 20 car slides beneath the 22 to take the spot away.
You have to think the reason that the 32 car didn't pit is they've had so many problems on pit road tonight that they want to just roll the dice with this strategy. And I guess the best way to avoid mistakes on pit road is stay on the racetrack. Mike?
Yeah, Andy, I'm sure that's one of the considerations after the night they've had on pit road, not only with the jack, but they also got blocked in by the 77 car on one stop. But Kyle came over the radio and said, you know, I think we can win this thing. The one concern right now, they think they're about 2 laps short on fuel, but he thinks if he can get out front, stay in clean air, pull away, he might be able to conserve just that amount so he can go to victory lane.
Mike, I think if they don't get any more cautions, they're going to be a few more laps short than that. I think they're going to be 4 or 5 laps short just by the numbers I'm calculating. They might be getting better mileage than I think, but that's really stretching it for these guys.
Saw a moment ago Earnhardt Jr. and Carl Edwards both sailing now into the top 10. Best we've seen Edwards run all night long here as the race track has changed. And there is Earnhardt Jr. Right behind the 6 car of David Reagan and David Strimmy. The 64, they are 8th, 9th, and 10th.
How about this Josh Wise, his 22 car? He's doing a great job. Using a little strategy to get up there, but he had to stay on the lead lap. So he's had to run pretty good.
Well, you got to do what you got to do, and he's had enough lap times out there right now and enough laps in this racetrack to know what his car is going to do. So he's probably a lot more confident right now.
Yeah, Josh making only his 2nd ever career start in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. He made a start last year at ORP for Fitz Motorsports. We watched the shuffling back in the pack. Shannon is caught up with Kelly Byers.
Well, it was certainly looking to be a great night for Kelly Byers and his team. Obviously, he's changed into street clothes. The night is over for you guys. Just tell me what happened. Did you see the 9 car down there?
Yeah, first of all, I got to apologize to the 9. I had no clue he was inside of me at all. First time I felt that he was inside of me was when he was in my left rear quarter panel. So I heard he was 2 back a couple laps later and never knew he was there. So got to apologize to their team. I didn't mean to wreck their car at all, and it sure, you know, I didn't mean to wreck our car, but Clorox Sport Fusion was great all night. We're going to have a solid run. We were lacking a little bit of speed that we needed to be able to run up in the top 5 and stuff, but we'd have finished top 15. That's what we were looking at doing, just logging laps there, and it's going to be a good night. Ended in disappointment, though.
All right, thanks, Kelly. Doc, very disappointed Kelly Byers.
Talented young man and has a very bright future here in the series. Now, the big question with the front 2 cars, with Kyle Busch and Greg Biffle, is do they have enough fuel, and can they pick the fuel up, Andy?
Well, one thing I'm looking at right now is they're running lap times that are within 2/10 of their fastest laps of the race. And to run those fast lap times, it takes a lot of fuel. It's going to be hard if somebody's pushing Kyle Busch for him to be able to save enough fuel to go to the end if we don't have any more caution.
Remember what happened to Mark Martin at Darlington when he had some fuel, but he couldn't quite pick it up, and that's the key. Can you pick it up? For more on that, let's go down to our Chevy cutaway car and Tim Brewer to show you exactly how it's picked up in the car when it gets down to next to nothing.
Tell you what, Jerry, that Sunoco fuel is very valuable when it comes down to the end of a race. What we're going to do, folks, we're going to show you over here in the corner where we actually put the fuel pickup. What that's relying on is centrifugal force, pushing the fuel over, opening up the trap door, containing it, and getting it all out. But the trick here, folks, when you're sitting on the banking with the fuel cell, sitting on an angle, you have to have 3 gallons of fuel in the cell just to reach this pickup. That's the reason you're relying so much on centrifugal force to put it over in this box to pick every ounce you possibly can up. Like I said, Sunoco fuel is very valuable, Jerry.
Tell you what, guys, that's a good what you just showed us down there, Tim. But, you know, the driver's got to do a job, too. You know, if he's low on fuel, he really needs to swerve that car back and forth, Andy, to pack that corner up with fuel. And do you think, knowing what you do, you can just turn the car real quick, or do you need to make some long sweeping turns to kind of pack that fuel against the corner?
Well, if you're running under caution, which we're running under green right now, under caution, that's the way you keep it over there. Is those long sweeping turns. You just got to keep sloshing that fuel over into into that door, into that little pickup area. But the key thing for Kyle Busch is this: if we don't have any more yellows, he's probably going to run out of fuel. And I don't care if you don't have any fuel; it doesn't matter how you pick it up.
Oh, trouble here. 66 car, Stephen Wallace in the 38 of Leffler. Leffler getting heavy damage on the back of his Toyota, and that will bring out a caution flag, and that will help the guys who are trying to hang on to fuel for the final laps, and does not help, though, Jason Leffler, one of our early leaders here tonight.
Stephen Wallace got some damage here, too. Man. These 2 good cars taken out.
Yeah, they were back in that pack, really battling hard and running out of time. 26 laps to go. You could tell everybody was just on it hard.
This will help Kyle Busch save some fuel, and Greg Biffle. Biffle actually has 2 laps more fuel than Kyle Busch. So you heard him say a moment ago that if Kyle Busch is going to be 2 laps shot, Biffle may be right on the mark to get there.
Nothing like a little drama here for the end of the race.
By the way, here's what happened to bring out the caution. These guys are running in 15th, 16th position back there. There is Stephen Wallace, and the car gets, there's contact there with the 38 of Leffler.
That is just what happens when you get on the bottom. All of these guys got arrow loose. We saw that earlier with Kelly Byers. Same thing happened down there. So running out of racing room.
They're also 3 wide. I think Jason Leffler could have given him just a little bit more room if they hadn't been 3 wide, but
well,
he didn't have anywhere to go.
I just started to say it looks like Steven could have got out of the throttle a little bit there, knowing that's a tight situation. That could have helped a lot, both of them.
Well, the prediction was 10 caution flags tonight. That was caution number 9. And here's the contact. You see what Mike Wallace saw from on board his Toyota as they entered the corner. Contact. Couple of cars, one heavily in the wall, and we're under caution again. It is the greatest spectacle in racing, the Indianapolis 500, and it's live tomorrow at noon Eastern time on ABC. Can 2-time winner Helio Castroneves once again taste that milk in victory lane? Will Danica Patrick continue her history-making season? Live coverage, flag to flag, of the 92nd Indianapolis 500 telecast presented by GoDaddy.com tomorrow on ABC at noon Eastern time. Memorial Day weekend, such a special weekend to be able to celebrate the sacrifices of our men and women in the armed services, and a great weekend for motorsports here, beginning at Lowe's Motors Speedway. Lots of drama building. Now, what about the 32 car, Kyle Busch, Mike Massaro? Can they make it on fuel?
Well, I think the guy that would know would be Todd Losey, the crew chief. How close are you on fuel?
We're still a little bit close, but this caution we definitely needed, you know, and this should make us probably 1 lap to the good.
I heard you on the radio thinking that maybe if this caution was longer, that's exactly what you needed. If this caution's not long enough, how tight will you be?
We're real close, you know. I don't know exactly, but it could go either way right now.
As you can hear, Doc, there is a certain amount of confidence in Todd's voice, but still maybe a little bit of doubt. We'll find out.
I'm not so sure Todd Losey should ever play poker. He's not a very convincing liar. I don't think they can make it. I think it's going to be really, really close. We'll see in a moment here. Meanwhile, while we're under caution, let's visit with our in-race reporter once again, Dale Earnhardt Jr. sitting back in 6th spot.
Hey, Dale Jr., Rusty, ESPN, you got us?
Oh, man. Well, I think this is the best driving push car I've had here before. It is that. Yeah, too little, too late, buddy.
Hey, Dale Jr., Rusty Wallace, ESPN, you got us? Hey, buddy, was that car still loose on you right now, or is it starting to come around?
We took 2 tires on the last stop on the right. It's really helped my car a lot. So we'll see what we can do here. We got to pull a couple tricks out of the bag if we're going to get anywhere with this.
All right, buddy, have a good one. See you later.
Thank you.
What's he talking about, guys? A couple of tricks out of the bag here. You got to believe that Dad taught him some pretty neat things about this racetrack over the years.
Well, maybe Daytona or Talladega, but this is Charlotte, man, and you got to have a good handling car. So if he's got some tricks, I want to know what the heck they are.
I bet you he's going to go to the outside and try to get as many as he can right here on this restart.
Man, that's a good trick. It takes a lot of nerve to do that, though.
All right, can they handle Kyle Busch and Greg Biffle? Remember, Denny Hamlin back there in the 20 car has not led a lap tonight, but a 20 car trying to make it 5 consecutive races in a row. It's gone to victory lane. Can it get it done? Can Kyle Busch have enough fuel? Can he slosh that fuel, as Tim Brewer showed you, over and keep the car running? Here comes Denny Hamlin to take the move and try to take the second spot away.
Looks like Denny Hamlin's got a few tricks, too.
Well, Hamlin's got to get it on right now. He's definitely got better tires than Kyle Busch does, so let's see if the tire's going to take over. Looks like he ever get a little quicker before the caution come out last time. Looks like they're actually catching Kyle Busch before this last caution.
Hamlin looks in his rearview mirror and sees the 88 car, Brad Keselowski, coming, as well as his boss, the 83 car. Earnhardt Jr. now back in 3rd and 4th position.
Well, this thing's shaping up. I think fuel's going to be the least thing that Denny Hamlin's going to be worried about.
Well, that's the great thing about what Denny Hamlin's got going. He doesn't have to worry about none of that. He just needs to drive his brains out. And really, Kyle Busch can't do anything different. He's just got to hope that he has one lap to the good, and he can just go for it.
Caution, debris on the racetrack, and that is the 10th caution flag. Rusty Wallace predicted 10 cautions in the countdown show, and Rusty, indeed, you were right on the money, but we still got 20 laps to go.
Well, it wasn't just me. Brad Doherty said the same thing, too, but this definitely going to help Kyle Busch right now. He's got no worries. I think he can just take it home now.
There's debris on the racetrack, some sharp metal coming off of one of the cars, and they're going to put the yellow flag out once again here. 10th time and out. There have been 10 cautions now for a total of 39 laps. We have had 11 different leaders, 18 lead changes. And by the way, folks, this is the 6th race this year that Kyle Busch will be credited with leading the most laps in the race. Listen to Kyle Busch's car. You saw him flipping the switch on and off, trying to save those valuable ounces of gasoline. We'll talk about how much he might have left when we come back for the final laps at Charlotte. Back at Lowe's Motor Speedway, getting set for the restart. Let's see if we can find out exactly what Dale Earnhardt Jr., what are the tricks he might have up his sleeve. Listen in.
I'm telling you, the motor is right. In your car? Sir, my motor is the best motor here. Better than the Toyotas? Better. They'll show more power on the dyno, but we know how to make them run fast. Good Lord, Ken Drosh just about had a heart attack. Oh, Maxim's down here too. Good God. I'm telling you, man, I'm running them over.
When is the last time you heard a driver tell his crew chief, I have the best motor here?
Never. I have never heard a driver say that in my career.
He's trying to get that motor department to buy him dinner. That's what's going on right there. He's getting them all fired up.
Well, he's obviously fired up that he's got something under the hood there that's going to handle those cars in front of him, those 2 Toyotas, and maybe even his teammate Brad Keselowski. We're going to find out here in the next few laps.
Whoa, Greg Biffle way out of shape.
Well, Dale Jr. picked up 2 positions on the high side last time. Let's see if he can do it again.
But he's got his teammate and his protege, Brad Keselowski, in front of him, and can he get by him?
He was going to try that outside move on Keselowski, but Keselowski said, wait a minute, I saw that move a while ago. You're not going to get me with it.
Boy, this is tough crane getting down the back straightaway here into turn 3. Those guys are 2 and 3 wide.
Yeah, this shuffle back 9th through 16th. There is David Stremme having another great top 10 run inside of Greg Biffle for position.
Boy, guys, he was dead sideways a little while ago. Stremme coming off of turn 2, got it gathered back up.
Here goes Junior underneath the 88 car. Can he get it to hang on the bottom of the racetrack? The 88 seems to have the momentum.
I just don't think that Junior can get it done on the bottom. I think he's going to need to somehow get his car on the outside of Keselowski to make this pass.
Junior's always been a rim rider. He likes the top side of the racetrack, likes all that momentum. And he's got a great motor. The problem is that his teammate in front of him's got the same engine.
Hard to get an advantage over yourself.
It is, isn't it?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to get his first win at Charlotte in a points-paying event. Brad Keselowski trying to get his first win ever in a NASCAR Nationwide Series car. And how about that 20 car trying to make it 5 in a row? They are 4 in a row. Denny Hamlin got one of those 4 wins at Richmond, now trying to make it 5 in a row. And Kyle Busch trying to stop the Joe Gibbs streak. How about he being the guy trying to stop the Joe Gibbs streak for 6 wins by that team in a row?
Well, Jerry, if this thing just stays running for a while with no cautions, we're really going to see what Hamlin can do because, like I said earlier, Andy, I think that these better tires on Hamlin's going to help him.
They're running the fastest laps of the race, 29.90 last time by. That's the fastest lap of the race for Kyle Busch.
It's getting cooler here in Charlotte. The track is cooling off, more grip level, and when it gets cooler, the engines make more horsepower too. Everything's just adding up to faster lap times right now.
Again, this series, it's been about Toyota, been the talk of the series here in 2008. Toyota's won 8 of 12 races. Joe Gibbs guys have won 6 in a row in their cars. We mentioned 4 in a row in the 20 car.
This 20 car certainly put some pressure on Kyle Busch.
On a restart, those tires are pretty cool, guys, and you can run some fast lap time just like Kyle Busch has been doing. But as they start heating up, that's when those other tires start coming around and things getting better.
I know we've talked a lot about Dave Rogers, the crew chief on this 20 car, but he has certainly put his team in the right spot at the right time here tonight.
I mean, even if he doesn't win the race, Andy, the 20 car's there again. I mean, this is week in and week out. I mean, these guys have got a good handling car all the time. Dave?
And that 20 car was not right earlier, Rusty. They've worked on it. They made some adjustment. Remember, last time down pit road, he did come down pit road. They made a wedge adjustment, but they didn't take on any fresh tires. So he's similar on tires to Kyle Busch, but he didn't quite get all the track position he wanted. Kyle stayed out and has stayed in front of him.
And you got me on that one, Dave. I thought he had some better tires in that car, but if they're on equal tires, it explains why the lap times are almost identical. Actually,
and Rusty, I asked Dave Rogers, why did you do that? And he said for track position, but they didn't get Busch. He stayed out.
Well, that 32 car is right on that white line. And when you're in front and you're blocking that air going to the second place car and your car behind, it's just not going to handle as good. You just don't have the downforce. And Andy, as a crew chief, you hate hearing that. My car won't turn.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do at this point because you're not going to make another pit stop. You have what you have, and it's all in the hands of the drivers here.
Battle for 8th position. Last October's winner here, Jeff Burton in the 29, taking the spot away from David Reagan, who's had a very good night. He is led the second most laps tonight, talking about the 6-car Reagan. And a battle for 16th position. The 1 car, Mike Bliss, and the car he vacated early in the year, the 22 car. Cannot say enough about the run by Josh Wise in only his 2nd ever start. That's Wise in the 22 Dodge.
This team's been through a lot of struggles when they lost Mike Bliss. They also lost their crew chief, Paul Wolf. And, just to run as good as they've been running tonight really says a lot about this team.
Yeah, that's Jason Keller behind him, looking back at Keller's car coming off his first top 10 run of the year at Darlington a couple of weeks ago. Great battle back here with these cars that are back in position 16th, 17th, and 18th.
And Josh is having a great run tonight. Just got to be cool. I mean, you get a little too frisky right now late in the race, you can ruin a good day. And he doesn't have as good of tires because he stayed out. So he's got to remember that. Drive it smooth. Bring home a good finish.
Bobby Hamilton also a part of that mix back there. And meanwhile, back up front, 7 laps to go. Todd Losey, the crew chief for Kyle Busch, told our Mike Massaro, but not very convincingly, he told Mike Massaro that we're a lap to the good, but I'm still wondering, they got to be a little closer than that.
Yeah, he didn't convince me that he felt really good about this. We've had a lot of caution flag laps, which you get about twice the gas mileage under caution that you do under green, but I'm still not totally convinced this 32 can make it. And here you go. You got the 20 car of Denny Hamlin looking inside.
Hamlin trying to get there.
Whoa! Big time loose off that corner.
It's bringing Brad Keselowski in the mix.
And Keselowski has got a lot of momentum on the top side of that track, guys. He might win this race.
Brad Keselowski, 47th career start, trying to get there. Still frustrated over what happened in the final laps at Las Vegas. Thought he had one that just got away when he got a little tap.
There's a lot more momentum on the top of that racetrack, and the 88 car, Brad Keselowski's got it.
Got some laps.
That's the shortest way around to the bottom, guys.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. now beginning to reel him back in. It was the 8 car lengths. Now he's cut it to 5 car lengths. Here comes Jr. now that those guys are mired in traffic.
4 laps to go here. It looked like the 20 car, Denny Hamlin, made just a big last-ditch effort to try to get by Kyle Busch.
And Andy, he can do that again. He's got 4 laps to go. He can get the rhythm back, get back up on his bumper, and try another strike at him one more time.
Great side-by-side racing here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. What a show tonight here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. 18 lead changes, and you got a handful of cars here with 4 laps to go that can win it.
Oh, and here's Josh Wise up in the wall.
And that will bring out caution for the 11th time tonight.
And this might be the caution flag that Kyle Busch did not want, because this is going to add some extra laps to the race. And this is where it's real critical to get that fuel over to that pickup, because it's real hard for these cars to pick up on these restarts, pick up all that fuel when they're going slow.
Totally agree with you. If he's that low right now, Andy, he might have to get that car down on the apron. And if you do, there's debris down there.
Yeah, he's going to have to get on the flat here to make sure he keeps fuel in that pickup.
And a reminder for fans who may not be familiar with the NASCAR procedure here, if there is a caution and we will go beyond, it's overtime, the prescribed distance, we can have a green-white checkered situation, which means, well, that could add a couple of laps to the race. Let's show you what happened to the 22 car after a good run tonight by 25-year-old Josh Wise. Here he is battling with the 11 car of Jason Keller.
Looks like he had a right front tire go down, getting in the corner. He was up high, so he didn't make real big contact, but he had a problem with the right front, it looked like.
Man, he was just doing a great job all night long. You saw the sparks fly out of the car. That's the reason he was way up against the wall. And I tell you, I'm glad he was up against that wall, Andy. Richard Petty used to do that stuff. He told me, Rusty, if I ever have a flat tire, it's not that far to hit the wall. I like running high. And that really saved that 22 car.
He was just trying to bring it home. I'm sure he felt something going wrong, but when you come down within the last few laps, you got to stay out and try to get a finish.
Andy, it looks like that 88 car's got some left front damage.
Yeah, definitely. You can see something on that left front right there.
And something just happened out there in this last lap here to cause that.
Watch on the caution lap. Denny Hamlin in the 20.
Ooh, whoa. You think he was trying to warm his tires up? Didn't see him out there?
I kind of think something crazy. That's crazy right there.
I can't believe Hamlin would have just turned into him. He might have been trying to swerve back and forth like he's doing now, Denny, and didn't see him and just run into him accidentally.
Now, what will that do? The damage on the left front fender of the 88, how will that affect the handling of the car?
Well, you got a couple things going on. He could have knocked the toe in out, which would affect the handling for sure. He's also going to probably rub that left front fender on the tire and maybe cut it down. So he's got a couple things going on.
'83 looking out for his teammate, not going to take it, going to go up there and let Denny Hamlin know that he didn't appreciate that little tap on his car.
Yeah, I don't know if Denny did that on purpose. Like Rusty said, it's almost crazy looking the way he may have been trying to warm his tires up, didn't see Brad out there.
Andy, I got to tell you, when I was driving, I did that many times, weaving the car back and forth, get the debris off the tires, and I did make a mistake one time and did run into a driver accidentally. That could have happened right here.
NASCAR has the ability to review what happened, and they are reviewing it as we speak to be able to see exactly what was going on. You would hope that they were just trying to weave back and forth there, and that was the reason for the contact. Okay, let's listen in to Denny Hamlin's radio while this was happening here just a moment ago.
Man, it's fun to watch. It's supposed to be a lot more fun to watch you pass that guy. Go get him, Denny. Go get him, man. We want this. Jeff keeps telling me to go up high, so he should be giving you the bottom.
Well, the discussion there with Denny Hamlin's radio just a moment ago. So we're going to see what's going to happen here. Does Kyle Busch have enough fuel? Can he hang on? Let's see what the 88's going to do with the 20 car. Green, white, checkered flag. Green flag this time by, white flag next time, and then the checkered flag.
Kyle Busch gets a good jump on the restart, which means he's probably got enough fuel to make it.
Yeah, he's got enough fuel, I'd say so, Andy. I mean, if Kyle Busch goes to the bottom, the 20 car, Denny Hamlin's just got to sail in on the top side and try to get the momentum. Going to the bottom, though.
The 4-race win streak at stake for the 20 car. How about a hungry and very angry right now? Brad Keselowski in the 88 car back in third. White flag, 1.5 miles to the checker flag. Now it's time. If you got it, you got to show it. Let's see what Hamlin can do.
Denny just got a bomb it into turn 3. Oh!
And the 7 car, heavy contact. And that race is over. Once the green-white checkered, if there's a yellow, the race ends immediately by virtue of scoring on the racetrack, and Kyle Busch will be the winner here.
Looks like somebody finally stopped the Gibbs cars here.
Yeah, the Toyotas are still hot out there right now, making big horsepower, but you heard Dale Jr. say he thought he had a good one too.
Kyle Busch picks up the checkered flag. The 4th win here in 2008. And amazingly, it is Kyle Busch in the Braun racing car that stops the Joe Gibbs string of winning 6 races in a row.
We heard Kyle Busch in the pre-race saying that that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to stop the domination of the Gibbs cars, and he felt like he was the guy to do it.
Man, I can guarantee you one thing. He didn't want to have one more corner with Denny Hamlin on his bumper, because Hamlin had him in his sights, and he was just getting ready to pound on him.
The 9th time Toyota will go to victory lane in 13 races as the Toyota domination continues here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. First win for the 32 car in Kyle Busch's 5th trip to the racetrack this year in the 32. So the green-white checkered, all for the naught because of the 7-car contact. Let's listen in to the radio here.
Way to bring it home here, bud. Congratulations. Thank you.
When we come back, we'll visit with Kyle Busch and talk about how close it really was on fuel. And also they're mixing it up down in the pits there.
Boy, Keselowski's team is mad at the 20 team for swerving into him. A lot of heat right there.
Tony Uri Sr. down there.
Somebody's going to punch somebody.
NASCAR officials trying to get in between these two teams.
Well, I'm guessing that contact on the racetrack was not accidental.
Tell you what, that's what happens here at Charlotte. This is a home track, and these guys are all here. Here we go.
You don't think this means something? These guys are very upset about what happened on the racetrack, and NASCAR trying to get in there to pull them apart. As Kyle Busch tries to celebrate on the racetrack.
Kyle needs to turn around and see what's happening behind him right now. Nobody's paying attention to the salute. They're looking at the fight.
Kyle Busch gets the checkered flag, and we will settle what's happening in the pits. When we come back, we're going to find out exactly what's taking place down there and talk to the principals involved. We'll come back and talk to Kyle as well in a moment. Our coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series at Charlotte has been brought to you by Honda, maker of the ATVs designed to be the best on earth, and by Mike's Hard Lemonade. In a world gone soft, someone's got to be hard. It was a very difficult night for the 32 car and Kyle Busch, and so those last few laps, and we still have it going on down there. Let's go down and visit with the celebration in Victory Lane. Here's Mike Massaro.
And it's just beginning now, Doc. 5 years ago to this day, that's when Kyle Busch made his first career nationwide start. It was right here at Lowe's Motor Speedway. He finished second. Well, he picked up one spot tonight, picks up his 4th victory this year, and the Joe Gibbs racing streak is over, and I'm getting drenched, by the way. The Joe Gibbs racing streak is over, and you're the guy to break it. Do you see the irony there?
Yeah, there's a little bit there, but, you know, I said before the race, hopefully we could bring this Dollar General Toyota home in first, and then it could be a runner-up to us. And fortunately tonight it worked out that way. What an awesome race car. Didn't start off that great. We really had to work on it. Todd Losey and these guys made a lot of adjustments tonight, and we got it going to where it was a lot better. Got to thank Mac Tools, Marquis Jets, and you know, Dollar General, great clips, everybody at Braun Racing for this deal here.
You just poured about 12 ounces of sports beverage down my back. Was there more beverage down my back, more liquid down my back than there was in the gas tank tonight?
It's NOS energy drink. I don't care. Whatever they're putting in this thing, if it's NOS, if it's Sunoco, whatever it is, it certainly had enough in it for there tonight in order to make it there towards the end of the race.
How concerned were you?
I was concerned a little bit, but every caution we had there, I was fortunate I could just shut the motor off and make a whole lap around under caution without the motor running. So that gained us probably about 2 laps right there, doing that every time the caution came out. And then I just rode around in 4th gear chugging along behind the pace truck. And fortunately for us, there was enough gas in this gas tank, and we were able to make it.
Congratulations.
With some burnouts, thanks.
Kyle Busch picks up his 4th victory of the season. He ties Tony Stewart for the most wins in the Nationwide Series so far in 2008. Shannon?
Well, guys, despite all the post-race activities down here, it's been a great night for Brad Keselowski. He's actually on the phone with Rick Hendrick right now, giving him some words of encouragement. Kelly Earnhardt-Elledge down here as well, giving their driver a pat on the back. We'll talk to Brad Keselowski. Here's Dale Earnhardt Jr., of course, team owner. All right, so post-race, we're looking like you could make a run. What happened between you and the 20 car there? A racing incident?
Well, we raced hard, and that's what racing is. That's why fans come and watch it. And he doesn't like when guys race him hard. Well, that's the sport, and that's what I do. And I raced him hard, and he didn't think that was cool, so he decided to take my left front fender off. But it didn't really affect anything in the end. We only got 1 lap. I might have had a run for him, been able to get to Kyle, but that was about it. But an awesome car, U.S. Navy Chevrolet, best car I've had all year. Awesome, awesome, awesome. And I got to thank everyone back at the shop and at Junior Motorsports. This was the car we needed to win. We just didn't catch the brakes. So just got to thank all of them.
All right, great run for Brad Keselowski here today at Charlotte. Dave?
And Denny Hamlin continuing to debrief with his team down here. Denny, so often when you get to a situation like we saw at the end of this race, there's a lot happened that we didn't see. What's been going on in the 88 tonight?
Well, ain't nothing we did to him until the very end right there. There was several situations, and I think it's just, him racing in the Nationwide Series, not having any cup experience, learning how to let guys, go at times. And there's many times during the race where I had him cleared except for maybe 2 inches. Instead, he hangs on my right rear quarter and then goes in the corner right on my door. And that pisses drivers off. It's especially guys that know, patience a little bit better than that. And we had a position on him late in the race, and he came from the bottom all the way to the top and cut our nose off just to block us. And we just don't roll like that. It's not the thing to do. And you learn one way or another. But then I was still fine with it. I wasn't gonna do anything. I was just gonna talk to him after the race. And then, for some reason, he picked my back tires up in the middle of 1 and 2, pulled up beside me, so I retaliated. So, you throw a rock, I'm gonna throw a concrete block back. So you're gonna have to deal with it. Don't impress me by having your whole crew over here. Bring the driver over here and let us talk about it.
All right, they certainly will talk at some point. Denny finished his second. Crew chief Dave Rogers has been called to the NASCAR trailer. Shannon?
Well, I'm here with Dale Earnhardt Jr. You had a front row seat for all of the activities on the track, Junior. Tell me what you saw.
Brad bumped him in the back just a little bit under caution, and Denny knocked a fender off his car, and I'm not happy about that. But hurt Brad's chances of having a good run, but it just tore the fender up. I mean, there was no excuse in it.
All right, so tell me, you saw Brad running up front, possibly getting the lead. What were you thinking as a team owner behind him watching this happen?
When he passed me for the lead, I was like, man, that's a weird feeling. I'm really excited about that for some reason. Don't make sense, but it was his car looked so good out front, in third, wherever he was, in front of me. It was awesome. I'm proud of that team, proud of Tony Sr., all the guys that have stuck with us to get to where we are. We're turning in such a great team.
All right, well, a great night for Junior Motorsports. Alan?
All right, Shannon, thanks. The final caution during the white flag lap brought out with a crash by Mike Wallace. A look at that going off into the corner. And looks like a little bit of last lap racing there.
Boy, he was. Mike was digging, trying to get that extra position, got a little bump there, got into some traffic, and ended up wadded up, unfortunately.
So championship standings after race number 13 of the season. Clint Boyer still the leader. Kyle Busch now 67 back as the NASCAR Nationwide Series heads to the Monster Mile, Dover, Delaware, next Saturday, 2:30 Eastern Time. Hope you'll join us. What a wild night in Charlotte.